Hi, I'm Robbie Lawler.
What's up, Fight Family? This is your favorite MMA coach, Thiago Alves, the Pitbull.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Pedro Munoz.
Mike Brown.
Guys, I am Alexei Olenik, and welcome.
And welcome.
And welcome.
And welcome.
And this is We Want Picks.
And you're watching We Want Picks.
To We Want Picks.
We Want Picks.
To We Want Picks.
To We Want Picks. Hi, everybody from American Picks.
My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. We are going to break down the entire UFC 274 fight card. We're going to talk about picks, bets, and fantasy plays. And if you want 50 free bucks, go to wewantpicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of our 5 betting partners. Make a deposit, and we send you 50 bucks as a thank you. wewantpicks.com/bets. And this is brought to you by EarnU. EarnU is the world's first sports and esports prediction game, allowing you to earn crypto risk-free. Check them out now at earnu.io. Interesting fight card last weekend, Jacob. People came for our heads because we got the main event wrong, but our picks were rock solid all the way through.
It was an unbelievable week for both of us, with betting-wise, with our picks, everything. The main event was going really well. We did the co-stream for the main event, and I was really talking up Rob Font. Then he got dropped, and then he looked great again, and then he got dropped, and then he looked great again, and then he got dropped. Listen, to break down that fight, I said Rob Font, the last minute of each round, needed to wrestle. He did not wrestle, and he paid a hefty price. So that was a shout out to Cheeto. I will admit, straight off the bat, I know there's going to be a lot of haters and trolls in here probably waiting. I will admit that I was wrong about Cheeto 100%. So if you have anger issues, take them out on Angelo, not on me.
Listen, I don't have any issues with Cheeto, and I'm not trying to argue with everybody all over again. My only thing was, it was very clear that Rob Font was the better, more technical striker. Very clear. He obviously wears damage very poorly. He has no power, at least nothing like Chito Vera does. So Chito Vera has a ton of power, but he was a step behind every single strike, which is why his strike numbers were horrible compared to Rob Font. But he's got stupid power. God blessed him with skin that doesn't cut and face that doesn't swell. Good for him. I'm looking forward to the next one. I'm glad he won, honestly, because I think that makes that division even more exciting. You don't want somebody like Rob Font that'll never beat the big guys, not really dangerous, and then just out decision up-and-comers.
Imagine if one of the title fights in a couple years, let's say Cheeto keeps making a run, gets a title shot, say he wins the title. Could you imagine Cheeto and Sugar for the title in a rematch? That would be a crazy match-up.
I don't think either one of
years.
I'm going to get attacked again.
Well, you hate
Sugar. I don't think either one of them are good enough to actually be a champion or fight for title. I think anyway.
Cheeto's making this Oliveira run. Speaking of 274.
Exactly. And let's jump right in, because opening up the main card, we have Journey Newson taking on Fernie Garcia. Journey Newson, 9-3 overall, 2-1 in his last 5, and he's looking for his first UFC 1 win. Fernie Garcia, 10-1 overall, 5-0 in his last 5, coming off a nice Contender Series KO. And Journey Newson is a come-forward striker with incredible power, but what's interesting is he's actually a grappler. He doesn't just use it he just doesn't use it in his fights. He's got these phenomenal grappling skills in his back pocket, but he discovered power halfway through his career, and he just fell in love with that, and he chases knockouts. When he does decide to wrestle, he has decent takedowns, but even if his entries are not great, he sticks with them, and he just constantly pressures forward until he gets it. When it hits the ground, he has slick transitions, but can struggle with control. And I mentioned he's 2-1 in his last 5, but the reality is he knocked out Domingo Pilarte cold, but he tested positive for weed, and they overturned that win. So that's what that third one is, or that third number there. Fernie Garcia is a pretty well-rounded guy. He has pretty good wrestling background, but when he fights, he's primarily a striker. His striking style is forward pressure, counter striker. So he's always taking steps forward, but he does a good job of moving out of the way when things come at him, and then he fires back. He has solid fight IQ, and if he's on the wrong side of those exchanges, he will drop down and grapple. He's at Fortis MMA and was pretty clear that for this fight camp and for a lot of his teammates' fight camps, he's been wrestling and grappling like crazy. And right now, Fernie Garcia is sitting at, almost a 2-1 favorite, right? Minus 155. And I have to imagine that's because of his KO in the Contender Series and his wrestling ability when he uses it. But that KO in the Contender Series was an anomaly. He's not normally a KO guy. He'll sit in the pocket and he will bang if there's an opportunity. but he doesn't have that same devastating knockout power that Newson does. And it's an interesting matchup because I think Fernie's the better fighter, who's more technical striker, and he uses his wrestling better. But Newson has the UFC experience and is dangerous both on the feet and on the ground. I'm giving a slight lean here to Fernie Garcia, but I am worried that the Contender Series knockout has him thinking that he could trade strike for strike with Newson because Newson has more power. So hopefully Fernie, you mentioned he's trained his wrestling, hope he sticks to the wrestling and just out grapples Journey Newson for the win.
Yeah, that was kind of my whole break. That was literally like word for word for my breakdowns was he needs to grapple to win. Journey Newson, he is like one of those old school like brawler type guys. He just wants to absolutely brawl. It's not going to be super technical, but the guy will throw hands. It'll get him in trouble, but it will also get others in trouble as well. He has a black belt on the ground, as you mentioned. But yeah, he doesn't really use it, as you mentioned as well. He is an orange belt in Taekwondo. Is that good?
I guess so. I don't know those belts.
It's listed, so it must be pretty good. So he's an orange belt in Taekwondo as well. But yeah, Fernie Garcia, the path to victory is just in his wrestling. He's got some decent takedowns. Not the best, but he's got pretty good timing on him. His stance is a little bit, when he strikes, his stance it's almost like a karate stance, but he boxes out of it. It's a very weird stance, and his footwork almost looks slow because of it. So if he starts getting into brawls with Journey Newson and these exchanges, he's not going to have the footwork to get out of those exchanges, and Journey is going to catch him. So if this turns into a brawl, if this gets nasty, this is definitely a Journey fight. This is going to be tailor-made for him. But Fernie, I love that name too, by the way. Fernie, if he does stick to the wrestling with those good timing on those takedowns and grapples and stay out of, the danger of the black belt and Journey Newson, I think that this is a clear path to victory for him. We'll see if he sticks to that game plan, but that's the path. You're 10-1, get the win.
I completely agree, and he should. Like, he literally has been very vocal about how much he's grappling in training camp. $8,600 is probably a decent price to pay. The problem is, these brand new UFC guys, I do not believe in the Contender Series fade. I think that's made up nonsense that people like to just talk about. But with that being said, Journey Newson is dangerous. So it's tricky to spend that much money on Fernie Garcia when we're not positive what he's going to do. But, listen, he's not in the 9,000s, and there are some people in the 9,000s that I absolutely hate here. So Fernie Garcia is my pick. You going to spend that money in DraftKings?
Probably not.
Okay. Fun.
But maybe. But okay. Probably not.
All right. Very fun.
It might though.
All right. That's very helpful. Monkey Knife Fight. What do you think of that line? That's a very high line for Fernie Garcia. Because I think he could potentially get a TKO on top if he sticks to that wrestling and stays super busy, but I don't know. I think it's a more or less type situation.
Yeah, if you're going to play, I think it's definitely probably more for Journey because he's going to be there. He's going to be throwing his bombs. Yeah, that is a tough 74.5.
Yeah. All right. So I think we're aligned on that. Sorry, I'm messaging with the web guy here. I think we're aligned on that. Guys, if you want to check out Monkey Knife Fight, we don't pick
I don't text I don't text well. I'm pretty professional about this whole thing. So my focus is on the people and our picks. Your focus is elsewhere. It's fine. I mean, one of us is always going to be more dedicated and better than the other one. I guess it's just me this week. So.
Yeah, I guess we'll see what happens. I guess we will see. Last week we were dead even. That's the first time that's ever happened, I think. So anyway, weonpicks.com/bets. Sign up, make a deposit. Let me know after you do, and we send you $50.
We were dead even, but we are better than everyone else. I'll tell you that.
That's a fact. Next up at UFC 274, we have Lupi Godinez taking on Ariana Carnelozzi. And this is a very interesting matchup.
Is it though?
It honestly is, and we'll get into it. We got Lupi Godinez at 7-2 overall, 3-2 in her last 5, alternating wins and losses. Taking on Ariane Carnelozzi, 14-2 overall, 4-1 in her last 5, coming off a submission win over Estela Nunes. Lupita Godinez is big, strong wrestler with solid striking, real power, and clean boxing. She has great setups to both wrestling and striking. She's very big for the weight class and uses her size and strength well to execute her game plan. She has 2 losses in the UFC, but the Jessica Penne loss was a bad decision, and the Luana Carolina loss was she stepped up on short notice, and it was at 125 pounds.
1 week's notice. Literally, it's, I guess, like 6 days notice, honestly.
Yeah, she finished the fight and then fought again the next week. But she couldn't bully, and she is a bully, very similar to Jessica Andrade in the fact that if she can't bully, she does struggle. Ariana Carnelozzi is a very aggressive, very strong, and very willing to be in a firefight. She has good takedown defense and very nice ground and pound if she ends up on top. And I say ends up on top because she's not really a wrestler, but she did take down Estela Nunes 5 times before submitting her. But I think that was just her having the awareness that Estela Nunes is small and that Estela Nunes is a phenomenal striker. So we did see some of her wrestling in that fight. That is not very typical of her. And the reason this is an interesting matchup is because I love Lupi. I would pick her 9 out of 10 times in most fights, but her style is to be a bully. And Carnelozzi is really hard to push around. Lupi's going to have the better striking, but she may struggle getting this to the ground. And this could look similar to Carnelozzi versus Na Liang, where Liang was able to take down Carnelozzi 3 times, but she still was KO'd in the second. And this is such a tough pick, but I've got to go with Lupita Godinez here. Carnelozzi was losing striking exchanges versus Nunes, so she had to lean on her wrestling. And then she was losing grappling exchanges to Liang, but she did make it happen with the strikes. And before that, she just flat out lost to Angela Hill. So I think Lupita Godinez is the better fighter, but I do worry that she's going to struggle pushing Ariana Carnelozzi around, and Carnelozzi is going to be able to steal this win. What do you think?
Yeah, you mentioned the Liang Na. That was my lock of the week. And actually, Liang Na came across the octagon. The very first punch she threw was just a straight right that dropped Carnelozzi. I thought it was going to be the greatest lock of the week of all time, because I think Liang Na was like maybe a $200 or something like that. And literally, first punch, boom, drops her, gets on top of her, couldn't finish the fight, ended up getting knocked out because she just completely blew her gas tank on that fight. But anyway, back to this fight. I see this, you mentioned Lupi as somebody that just kind of bullies people to a win. I see that in Ariane Carnelozzi. I see her as like a little Andrade, honestly. And I think she might be bigger than Andrade, but she is Andrade-like in the way that she, as you mentioned, when she's losing the striking, she can go to the wrestling. But if she can't really grapple, she can just kind of bully and brawl people, and she's going to be the stronger person most of the time. I don't think she can do that to Lupi. So you don't think that Lupi might have struggles with Ariane? I think that that Ariana is going to have issues with Lupi. Her judo is incredible. You mentioned that Penne fight. That she did not lose that fight. Every time Jessica jumped on her, she basically literally just like tossed her across the octagon. Up here.
I'm listening to you. Toss her across the octagon. I'm listening.
Yeah, we need you engaged.
I got you.
Tossing Jessica across the octagon. Lupi is my girl. I am biased for her, but I think that this is a tailor-made fight for her to win, because she's going to be able to get this fight to the ground, and that's where she absolutely dominates. You mentioned her 2 losses really aren't losses at all. That was she had just fought on a Saturday, fought the next Saturday up in weight, and she actually dominated again that first round to a much, much bigger girl, was tossing her down, and then, fighting, back-to-back weeks kind of got to her. So I'm Lupi all the way in this matchup. I love this matchup for her. She's probably going to be in my DraftKings lineup as well. Flashback, how much was she in DraftKings?
Let's see. 9,000. I'm not spending that.
9,000? I'll probably spend that, honestly. I think it's a tailor-made matchup for her. I'm going Lupi all the way.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable with that 9,000 because I do worry that Ariana Carnelozzi is just too strong and too hard to take down. And guys, I'm going to post the picks at the end of the week, like what the score was overall and stuff like that. But pay attention to the analysis, because this is one of those fights. If Lupita Godinez can't take Ariana Carnelozzi down and Carnelozzi beats her and steals that fight, the analysis was spot on. The analysis was absolutely correct. The pick was wrong, but the analysis was correct. And we've got about 4 fights on this card where the pick might be wrong, but the analysis should be correct. Ariana, look at her. I mean, just look at Ariana's arms like that, or Ariane. That is literally what worries me, is just too strong, too powerful for Lupi to bully. And that is how Lupi fights. She bullies. And if she can't bully, she may struggle.
Yeah, but it's not just all. But Lupi does it with technique. She's not a huge girl. She's a physical girl, but she doesn't do it just by picking people up and slamming them down. She does it with technique, with her judo, with her trips. So if she was like one of those muscle people like Carnelozzi, that's how she gets people to the ground. She literally just muscles them to the ground. Where Lupi is very, very technical in the way she does it. So Carnelozzi might be tough, but Lupi is more technical and knows how to get her to the ground.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm rooting for Lupi. I want Lupi to win. I think she can win this fight. But again, the strength is going to, because she doesn't have like beautiful, clean takedowns. She kind of bullies. So we'll see what happens. I do think Lupita Godinez wins, because if she can't take Ariana down, then they end up in a striking match and she's the better striker. And that's why I've picked her to win. She doesn't need to get it to the ground. Monkey knife fight, 80-63. And that should be interesting. I think that hits. I think this is a decision. I think they go at it. I think it's more on monkey knife fight.
Yeah, both these girls are very, very tough. So I don't see either one of them really finishing the other one. I think it's a lot of clinching and a lot of who can dig underhooks, right? I mean, that's what DC and Bisping always talk about in those clinches. Who's able to get those underhooks and stuff. I think it's a lot of that, but some striking in between. So I think it's a 3-4 round, and they go at it more and more.
Yeah, so we're aligned there as well. WeWantPicks.com/MKF for monkey knife fight. WeWantPicks.com/bets. Sign up, make a deposit, and we will send you $50 as a thank you. Next up, at UFC 274, we have Clayton Rodriguez taking on CJ Vergara. Clayton Rodriguez, 7-1 overall, 5-0 in his last 5 with 3 stoppages. CJ Vergara, 9-3 overall, 4-1 in his last 5, coming off a loss in his official UFC debut. Clayton Rodriguez is a well-rounded prospect with a lot of potential. He has a very versatile striking style where he mixes in kicks really well. He has power in his hands, but he throws a lot of those punches from his hips, so they're pretty telegraphed. His takedown defense can definitely use some work, but his takedown offense is pretty solid. He has nice trips from the clinch and almost has like a Greco-style wrestling takedowns, right? He's not dropping for doubles, but in that clinch, he's working trips, throws, stuff like that. And when he's on top, he does a great job of establishing his positions and then striking from there. CJ Vergara is a powerful striker with solid forward pressure. He's coming back after a disappointing UFC debut against Ode Osborne. He's a very good striker with clean boxing and solid knees. He likes to fight inside the pocket where he can use his own clinch work, and then he showcases his power. Clayton Rodriguez, he's a big prospect who can really fight anywhere anywhere a fight goes, feet, ground. Like, he's a good prospect, and he's solid everywhere. I understand why the bookies like him here. I don't understand why they like him as a 3-1 favorite almost, but I do understand why they like him. But I think I like CJ Vergara here. I just, Clayton does have the power punches, but they're looping and they're obvious. And I think CJ can get inside of them and literally beat him to the punch. And we've seen that happen before. The one thing that does concern me is the clinch work. CJ's got great clinch work with his strikes. Clayton Rodriguez has great takedown from the clinch work. So it'll literally be like the battle of the clinches. And I do worry that Clayton can get the takedowns. I think CJ Vergara gets inside, sees the looping punches, touches him up from there. He hit Ode 122 times to Ode's 89 in his UFC debut. I think he'll have more of that success. Just a little short, clean shot straight up the middle should get it done. But this one does worry me a bit. What do you think?
So your pick is CJ?
It is.
I don't know if I've ever seen you pick a over a 200 favorite, to be honest with you. I mean, I do it all the time. I know why you don't do it, because it doesn't work out very often, and it's probably not going to work out in this matchup either, because Clayton, I think, is the real deal. If you watch his Contender Series fight, that wasn't really the Clayton that I saw in tape and watching him on the regional saying, up here.
Stop. I'm dealing with real life. Continue with the show.
Well, I think we're here for the people right now. But if you watch him on the regional scene, I think that that is the Clayton I want to see in this fight, because I think this is the perfect opportunity for him to shine in this matchup. He's one of those guys that's very patient until he's not. He does a lot of wild stuff, but he doesn't do it all the time. He kind of just waits, see those opportunities. You'll see a spinning wheel kick, you'll see a spinning back foot, you'll see wild stuff, but also big combos. When he finally goes, he goes, and when he lands, it hurts. And CJ's known as this power guy. I don't really see the power when he fights. He's got 6 knockouts in his 9 wins. I don't see the power there.
I don't see the power. He has.
I'd say when I watch the
9 wins.
I'm saying, yeah. I mean, you can look at it. I'm saying when I watch him fight, I don't see that type of one punch power that people are worried about. He's a little sloppy in his striking. He missed weight. And I think it was short notice fight or whatever his debut, but he did miss weight his last fight. We'll see how he looks Friday. He does have decent takedown defense, but you mentioned Clayton is great with those judo trips, those body lock takedowns, and very good controlling on the ground. So I think Clayton, this is a fight for him to shine in this matchup. That's why he's a 300 favorite. And I hope that he brings the confidence from the regional scene into his debut on a big UFC card and shows people what he's all about, because I think he's the real deal and a real prospect in this flyweight division.
I guess we'll see what happens. It'll be this is an interesting one. I have like I said, this is a tricky card. There's a lot of weird fights on this card, and the pick might be wrong, but I feel like the analysis is going to be spot on with a lot of these fights. I don't know why, but I'm just liking CJ Vergara, Clayton Rodriguez. The footage looks good. It all looks very real, but these wild looping punches. CJ gets inside, clean technical, short strikes, $9,400. Probably not going to spend it. You spending it?
I probably will spend it, honestly.
Wow, 2 big favorites in a row for you. Congratulations on all your risk taking. Monkey Knife Fight, not touching that. I'm just absolutely not touching that. One of these guys can go face first early. It could be a war. Like, I'm not touching that. Those are crazy numbers.
You gonna make CJ your lock?
I don't do like gimmicks. I just come here.
Consistent
quality
confidence.
breakdowns.
You're talking about way to go out on a limb. You went on a limb here. Let's make it a lock. Let's see who lock come through.
Okay.
No. Okay. No confidence. I get it.
You want $50? I have confidence that I will give it to you. Go to wewantpicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of our 5 betting partners. Make a deposit. We send you $50 as a thank you. Next up, Jacob Gatto. There it is. Back to normal, Jacob. Next up at UFC 274, we have Tracy Cortez taking on Melissa Gatto. Tracy Cortez, 9-1 overall, 5-0 in her last 5, making her long-awaited comeback. Melissa Gatto, 8-0 overall, 4-0-1 in her last 5, coming off a very impressive win over Sijara Eubanks. Tracy Cortez is a fantastic wrestler who's making a comeback after a year-long layoff. Historically, her striking is just okay, and the stats are pretty deceiving. She's listed as having a positive striking differential, but you need to keep in mind that she also averages 3 takedowns per fight, and she spends the majority of her time on top. So when she's on top, she's landing strikes and not getting hit. So the fact that she is hit with almost 3 significant strikes per minute means that when she's in those striking exchanges, she's not doing well because all of her strikes are when she's on top. So her striking has a little bit to be desired, but the reality is she is a wrestler and she is always looking to get it to the ground. Melissa Gatto is coming off a dominant win over Sijara Eubanks where she stopped her with a kick, which was surprising because Melissa Gatto is a grappler, very good grappler, but she's a grappler, and people didn't really expect that kind of striking. Melissa has very good BJJ, and what's unique about her is she's mostly dangerous off of her back. She proved in her last fight that she isn't just a grappler. She has high-volume striking, pretty clean striking, and she uses that striking to set up takedowns and works from there. Takedowns are not great, though. This is a really tough matchup to predict. Tracy Cortez, very good at one thing, and that one thing continues to win her fights and has won every single one of her fights.
Oh.
Her striking is just okay, and her submission offense almost non-existent. She is a decision machine. Gatto, on the other hand, has decent striking, great submissions, and then 0 wrestling defense. Cortez has also been gone for a year, and it's always hard to know what someone's going to look like after that kind of layoff. So we either have Cortez ride out her 8th decision in 11 fights, or Melissa Gatto continues her impressive stoppage streak. Put your hand down. Has Tracy picked up some BJJ from her boyfriend? I don't know. I do think I'm picking her, though.
I honestly, I think that was a personal shot at me from her boyfriend. How disrespectful was that?
Because it's not you. Anyway, you don't know she's dating Brian Ortega and not Jacob. And obviously he's phenomenal jiu-jitsu, and I imagine she's improving that. Her submission defense is great. Her submission offense isn't really there. I think Tracy Cortez is the pick because I think she will get the takedowns and can hang out and avoid getting submitted. It's that clear. This breakdown and the co-main event breakdown will be somewhat similar. What do you think, Jakey boy?
Yeah, you mentioned you don't know how she's going to look after a year. I can tell you, she looks fantastic, Angela, I can tell you. Speaking of both ladies, but yeah, Tracy Cortez in particular. I know that, so Melissa Gatto is like, everyone is like, Gatto. I can't believe she's an underdog. I've seen a lot of people like, she's a parlay piece. People have messaged me, Gatto, right? Gatto was a lock of the week for me a couple months ago. She won that fight against Sijara Eubanks, but you guys got to be careful. I am biased for Melissa Gatto 100%. Trust me, I love Melissa Gatto. I got Jacob Gatto in my name, but she, in that Sijara Eubanks fight, she was I don't want to say dominated in the grappling, because she is very dangerous off her back, so Sijara had to be careful, but she was taken down. And she was out-wrestled for most of that fight before she got that, I don't want to say it's a lucky front kick, but thank God she got that front kick that dropped Sijara, because I'm not sure how that decision was going to go in that fight. So yeah, she won against a dominant wrestler in Sijara Eubanks, but Tracy Cortez is a much better wrestler than Sijara Eubanks. She's a much better controlling type wrestler. This is how I see the matchup. This is Tracy Cortez's fight to lose. She's going to be able to get the takedowns. She's going to be able to probably control the positions, but Gato is so dangerous. She is the much more dangerous fighter in this matchup, either on the feet, because we saw the front kick matchup, and she was a little bit better in the striking department, but on the ground, she's very, very dangerous. On her back, if she gets on top, if let's say she wins a scramble, if she's on top, she's much, much nastier than Tracy Cortez. She will come with elbows, look for submissions. Angelo mentioned the lack of finishes from Tracy Cortez. So if this is Tracy Cortez, I know you kind of want to show out in front of your home fans. She's from Arizona, but you got to make this fight boring. You got to take her down, and you got to hold her, and you got to control her. Otherwise, you're going to end up losing this fight by submission, by something crazy happening. So with that said, I'm going to pick Melissa Gatto because she is the more dangerous fighter in this matchup. But this is Tracy Cortez's fight to lose. And if you want to play the Melissa Gatto side, I'm going to play it, but be careful. Don't think that just because she beat Sijara and she's dangerous, Tracy Cortez could easily take her down and just control her for 3 straight rounds. So I'm Melissa Gatto. I think she pulls it off, but it's going to have to be a little bit of a Hail Mary to beat Tracy Cortez, honestly.
Yeah, I get it. This was a hard one for me to pick. The odds are a little wide, but you know what bet I am going to place? The exact same bet that we hit last week on Shanna Young. Wait, that was Shanna Young, right? I'm not missing on my names. Yeah, Shanna Young. Was it Shanna Young? Anyway, a wins inside the distance decision, no action bet. That was exactly, this was the exact same matchup as we had last week with Gina Mazzani, right? Is Gina Mazzani going to get a bunch of takedowns and ride out a decision? Maybe. Or is she going to get stopped? Maybe. Same exact thing. Tracy Cortez probably wins a decision here, but the bet is going to be on Melissa Gatto. If she wins inside the distance, I get paid. If she loses a decision, which is how Tracy wins her fights, I get a refund. The bet never happened. It hit last week. I'm doing it again this week. WeWantPicks.com/bets. We have 5 partners. BetOnline is the one partner that offers that bet. I think actually you guys said some other books are starting to offer that as well. But hey, the other books aren't my partners. BetOnline is. WeWantPicks.com/bets. If you sign up, make a deposit.
I want to do the No.
Oh, no. No.
The other books are not our partner, so
$8,700 to $7,500. I think $8,700 is a fair price to pay for Tracy Cortez. It's a lot of takedowns, a lot of control time, and DraftKings loves takedowns and control time.
Yeah, Melissa Gatto might be a play for me at $7,500, but I agree. I mean, Tracy Cortez could easily be a great play at $8,700 as well, but Gatto's just so dangerous, man. Dangerous.
She is dangerous, and that's why I love my bet. Monkey Knife Fight, again, I don't think I'm going to touch this line. I don't know if there's a lot of lines I'm going to love here because I don't know. Because Melissa Gatto, how's she going to get off 57 if Tracy Cortez is going to do what I think she's going to do? So I'm not going to touch the Monkey Knife Fight line. What do you think about that?
This should be basically a jiu-jitsu match in my mind. I think Tracy takes her down and is basically just trying to stay on top the entire time. Melissa Gatto's trying to work sweeps. I don't think there's a ton of striking in this.
Yeah, I hear you. So I'm not going to touch the Monkey Knife Fight line, but if I do, maybe I do a less. But you guys can check that out. WeWantPicks.com/MKF. It's daily fantasy. You just say more or less on the strike lines, and if you're right, you can triple your money. Next up at UFC 274, we have the ageless Francisco Trinaldo taking on Danny Roberts. Francisco Trinaldo, 27-8 overall, 4-1 in his last 5, coming off a close win over Dwight Grant. Danny Roberts, 18-5 overall, 3-2 in his last 5, coming off a split decision win about 6 months ago. Francisco Trinaldo, I said he's ageless. The guy's 43 years old, which is usually a red flag, but he is not showing any signs of aging yet. His chin is still solid as hell. He's coming off that solid win over Dwight Grant, which was a decently paced fight. It was not a slow fight. And this is his 3rd fight at welterweight, and I think not cutting down to lightweight is probably what's extending his career a bit because keeps his, he's hydrated, keeps his chin, and things seem to be holding up pretty well. Style-wise, Francisco has solid wrestling, and he's strong as hell. He's legit good everywhere. His striking is not very technical, but he has real power, and you can see that in his knockout against Jai Herbert last year when he was 42 years old. And Danny Roberts made a successful comeback against Ramazan Ameev after a 2-year layoff. He did look a little rusty in that fight. He got that fight sort of by the skin of his teeth, but he was coming back after a 2-year layoff, and Ramazan Ameev is a tough opponent. Danny has solid boxing and footwork. He throws very hard, and he has the power to KO anybody in the division. His takedown defense is not great, and his takedown offense is even worse at 11% accuracy. Striking will absolutely be Danny's path to victory. And I think I'm going to continue to ride the Trinaldo train here. We faded him against Salikov in that fight. But that's because stylistically, that was a bad matchup. Salikov can get those takedowns, can take away Francisco's tools. Danny Roberts can't do that. Obviously, the striking will be dangerous, but I think Francisco's going to go with a wrestling-type game plan. Danny Roberts has been taken down 17 times in 11 UFC fights. I like Trinaldo to stay in Roberts' face, grind out a win, get those takedowns when he needs them. I have no reason to believe that Trinaldo's chin is gone. Any day now, it will be, but I don't think that day is going to be Saturday. So Francisco Trinaldo's the pick. Jacob?
Yeah, that was kind of my analysis is how long is his chin going to hold up? Because the dude is 43. He's been in so many fights, and it's not like he doesn't get hit. I mean, he gets cracked, and it just does not phase him. I got to imagine at some point, and I think you saw that in that last fight, he got clipped a little bit. I watched it, and it was hard to tell if he was kind of going for a takedown, then kind of slipped at the same time, or if he got clipped, but it looked like he got clipped in that situation. And I think that, is he going to go to the grappling? Because we've seen him in some wild striking exchanges. But in that last fight, he was kind of grapple heavy, especially in that third round. He lost the point. He knew he needed to win that round back because of the eye pokes, I think, something like that. They took a point away from him. He was already dominating the fight, but he knew what he needed to do to win that round. And when he needed to win the round, he went to the wrestling. He dominated the wrestling. So if he finds himself in some trouble against Danny, is he going to go to that wrestling again? I think he's probably going to. Is he going to go to it too late? That's yet to be seen because, man, Danny Roberts has that left hand cocked and ready to go at any moment. If he hits you, it is big, big trouble. And I'm just going to, I mean, this is a stupid thing. I'm not going to bet on this fight, right? But it's a stupid thing to bet on. It's probably a stupid thing to make my pick on. But it just feels like at some point, Francisco's going to get clipped and he's going to get hurt enough to where he can get finished. And if anyone's going to do that, unless he starts working up the ranks again, Danny Roberts seems like that guy. It's a southpaw. He's got that big left hand. He's a little bit dynamic in his striking. So I'm going to go with Danny Roberts. I think he's just going to be able to clip Francisco before he's able to get to the wrestling. But if Francisco wrestles early, this is definitely his fight to win. So my pick is Danny Roberts, and I think Francisco gets knocked out for the first time. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we will see. I mean, he's going to look old eventually. Nobody keeps that forever. $8,200. I love him. I love him at $8,200. What do you think? You love Danny enough?
Probably good. It's probably good value for a guy that will wrestle and has never been knocked out. I mean, that's pretty good value.
Yeah, I mean, I'm loving it. So yeah, obviously I agree. And then Monkey Knife Fight. I do think it's a more though. I don't think this ends early. I think it's a grinding decision, a Francisco Trinaldo fight. So this one I actually do like the more in Monkey Knife Fight. What do you think?
Yeah, and Francisco's one of those guys he's not gonna push the pressure, but he's always gonna be in your face and force those shots at you, right? The jabs, to try and just get him away from you, basically. So these strikes will add up quickly. I think it's a more.
I'm with you. So check that out. WeOwnPicks.com/MKF. It's daily fantasy. You just play the more or the less on the strike line, and you can triple your money. And if you want $50, WeOwnPicks.com/bets. Sign up, make a deposit. We send you 50 schmackaroos. Next up at UFC 274, we got a couple of heavyweight strikers. There's some grappling in there as well, but big couple of heavyweights. We got Blagoy Ivanov taking on Marcos Rogerio de Lima. Blagoy Ivanov, 18-4 overall, 2-3 in his last 5, riding a 2-fight skid. Marcos Rogerio de Lima, 19-7 overall, 3-2 in his last 5, coming off a great knockout win over Ben Rothwell. Blagoy Ivanov is a heavyweight striker with an iron chin and a willingness to trade. He took the best shots that Derek Lewis, Augusto Sakai, Tai Tuivasa, and Junior Dos Santos could throw at him, and he never went down. He didn't win all those fights, but he didn't go down either. And there's literally YouTube highlight videos dedicated to Blagoy Ivanov's chin. The whole video is just his chin. It's incredible. And he's a combat sambo guy. He's got a combat sambo background, and he actually beat heavyweight great Fedor Emelianenko in combat sambo. He's a talented guy with solid takedown defense, okay power in his hands, and a willingness to survive. I say willingness to survive because this dude was stabbed. That scar, he was stabbed, and it punctured his lung. He was 3/4 dead, healed up, then got an infection, lost a ton of, this guy's been through so freaking much. He just continues to come back. And real quick, if you don't know what combat sambo is, it's essentially MMA, but a little watered down. But there's strikes, throws, submissions. It's essentially MMA. Marcos Rogerio de Lima is a powerful striker with a decent ground game and solid leg kicks. For a heavyweight, he has a ton of volume. He put up 166 strikes against Maurice Green, and he has decent wrestling offense at 66%, and he averages more than one takedown per fight. The issue for him is that if he gets taken down, he does not fight well off of his back. He's coming off an incredible win over Ben Rothwell, where he looked fast, powerful, and just light years ahead of Ben in the few exchanges they had before the knockout. And it's another interesting fight. Both guys are pretty talented and have paths to victory. De Lima has great hands and incredible speed for a heavyweight. Ivanov has an insane chin and that combat sambo background, which he can use for his takedowns.
I literally almost just threw up because my head just got scrambled. You just saying that over combat sambo combo.
Just in an endless.
It was just a lot. It was a lot that I had to process right there. I just started looking into the light.
Instead of one of those stupid boomerang videos, it was just a boomerang mispronunciation of a word.
It sounded like wasn't there the app that people were doing sometimes where you listen to your own voice, but it's delayed, so you start talking weird and stuff. That's what it was.
No, I've never heard that in my life.
6
of De Lima's 7 losses are by submission, and Ivanov's not necessarily a submission machine, but I think there's a clear path. He's got 6 takedowns in his last 3 fights. So Ivanov's the pick. Rogerio de Lima will absolutely test his chin, but without being able to put out Ivanov, I just don't see Rogerio de Lima winning. But I know you guys are absolutely obsessed with Rogerio de Lima in the at least the comments on the Quick Picks video. So what do you think, Chicky? Boy.
I'm actually kind of surprised about that because when you watch these two guys fight, it really is kind of like a power versus patience type of fight where Marcos has the big power and will come blitzing forward with the power, and Ivanov will just kind of wait and wait and wait. But when he goes, I kind of mentioned on the previous fight, when he goes, man, and he will lunge across with those big shots. And the issue is you can't put him away. You mentioned the Derek Lewis fight. He's trading bombs with Derek Lewis. Got a couple takedowns in there, but he was trading bombs. He beat Tai Tuivasa. He actually used to train with Francis at Extreme Couture. He also went to AKA and was training with DC and stuff. So the guy's been around top talent and faced top talent in this division from top to bottom. The top guys now. I mean, Derek Lewis fought for a title. Tai Tuivasa's up there kind of fighting for, getting ready to fight for a title. Training with DC, with Francis. So he's been around. So I'm surprised that so many people are so high on Marcus. I understand he's got the power, but against a guy that's shown that the power does not matter, I don't know how Marcos is going to beat Ivanov. I don't think he can outstrike him for 3 rounds because the takedowns will be there for Ivanov as well when he needs them. I think this, I don't want to say it's a tailor-made matchup because with heavyweights, it's always tough to tell, but I think this is a matchup for Ivanov to lose. I think he should dominate this fight. If he wants to get to the ground, I think that's probably his easiest path to victory. But if he just waits for Marcos to throw those big bombs, his counters will be there, and he's got power in his own right. So when I look at this fight, if I were trying to find a path to victory for Marcos, I don't know if I can find one. So with that said, I gotta pick Ivanov in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, it's his chin. It's his chin. My whole pick is literally based off Ivanov's chin. He's going to take Marcos' best strikes, and maybe he won't, right? Eventually, these things go south, but he's taken.
And he's only 35, but you mentioned everything he's been through. The guy looks like he's 50 years old a little bit. He's only 35, though. So we're not talking like before we were talking about chins and 43-year-olds and stuff. He's still, I mean, me and that guy are the same age somehow. I don't know. Look at that guy and look at me and tell me who looks 35.
Yeah, no, it's not. He's not aging well. Anyway, I like him at $8,400 in DraftKings. because I do think he could potentially get a stoppage. I think he can get this to the ground, elbow his way to a win, because Rogerio de Lima, decent on top, but not much to offer on his back. What do you think of that pricing?
DraftKings, you said? Or are you on my
Yeah, DraftKings pricing.
I'll probably take Ivanov, honestly, in DraftKings.
Yeah.
I think I've put everyone in my lineup, honestly, at this point.
Yeah.
So somebody's going to have to get kicked out, but I do like the value at 8,400.
And then Monkey Knife Fight, it's probably it's definitely more for Rogerio de Lima. Rogerio de Lima has a lot of volume. It's definitely more for him. The Ivanov over 65, it's probably more for him as well. I think they literally slug it out on their feet, and then Blagoy Ivanov gets some takedowns in there. You'd flip him?
I think I would flip if I was Chris setting up these. I think they should have been flipped, because I think this is probably a more or less play, because Ivanov will just kind of wait, and he does throw in combos a little bit,
but I think he'll get some
patient.
takedowns.
Yeah, if he gets takedowns, those could add up. But if he just stays on the outside and just waits and waits for those big shots, it's a less situation. But I think volume wise, I think Marcos is a higher volume striker than Ivanov, so I think those numbers should probably be flipped. Sorry, Chris.
I
know
right.
you're doing your best, Chris. I know you're doing your best.
The line, you could argue, and honestly, maybe I typed it wrong, but it could be switched. But even then, I still think it's more and more, because I think they go at it. I think they just go at it, and I think Ivanov will get some takedowns, and those little pitter patters will add up on the takedowns. And Marcos, we know, has solid volume. You want to check that out? WeWantPicks.com/MKF, and you want to take a stab, make some bets? Well, I'll give you 50 free bucks. Go to WeWantPicks.com/bets, sign up, make a deposit, and we send you $50 as a thank you. Next up, we have Brandon Royval taking on Matt Schnell. Brandon Royval, 13-6 overall, 3-2 in his last 5, coming off a split decision win over Bontorin, where he was taken down 8 times, Jacob. 8 times Royval was taken down in that fight. Matt Schnell, 15-6 overall, 3-2 in his last 5. I mean, it's a lot of takedowns. 15-6 overall for Matt Schnell, 3-2 in his last 5, and he's coming off a decision loss also to Bontorin, where he was just completely outstruck. So Bontorin's just beaten. I mean, he didn't beat Royval, but he's doing what he wants to people, but we're not breaking him down. Brandon Royval is one of the most exciting guys to watch in the UFC. He's always looking for a finish, but he has enough cardio to set a relentless pace for 15 minutes. He's dangerous on his feet, and he has diverse striking with great speed. He's also a solid grappler with tricky submissions and a willingness to chase them. He throws crazy, brings a ton of pressure, and just keeps coming forward. Brandon Royval is a problem for a lot of people, but he's absolutely kill or be killed, with all but one of his fights ending by finish. And Matt Schnell is a very good counter striker with solid BJJ. You've probably watched me break down Matt Schnell versus Alex Perez. I think 3 times I did that, and 3 times that fight fell apart. And the read is the same, right? Nothing's changed since those breakdowns. The read is the same. I think Matt Schnell does an amazing job backing up. He's a good counter striker. Does an amazing job backing up 2 steps, and he gets you to follow him. And as soon as you come forward following, he plants his feet, he fires back with combinations, and he loves doing that off leg kicks as well. He'll end an exchange with a leg kick, he'll back up, you'll follow him, and then he'll counter, bang, 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 leg kick back up, and the cycle just repeats itself. His BJJ is slick, and he does snatch things up and scrambles pretty well. And this should be a really fun fight between 2 guys willing to bang. Brandon Royval is an offensive machine who just loves coming forward. Matt Schnell has phenomenal striking defense and just loves to bait people. Neither guy is really looking to initiate takedowns, but Royval is probably the better pure grappler. Both guys only have 2 takedowns in each of their entire UFC careers, but I do think Royval's forward pressure and sneak will probably be the difference here. So Royval is the pick, and this is a potential fight of the night. But before I give it to you, controversial take here. I think Royval's a little bit overrated. Like, yes, I just picked him. I think he's a little overrated. People like him way too much.
And I will give a biased breakdown here, but at the same time, I'm going to be very impartial in my pick, because I am a huge Brandon Royval guy. It's not one of those guys that's always going to be lock of the week or whatever, but I just really like the way he fights. I think he's a very, very good fighter. When Angelo says I think he's overrated, I do not agree. I think he's a very, very good fighter. I think he could be that next level guy. But with that said, in this matchup, I think the odds are crazy. I think that this is very, very disrespectful to Matt Schnell. I think Royval should be the favorite because I think he is the overall better fighter and is a little bit more dangerous. But Matt Schnell is very, very good. And he's almost a 3-1 favorite, isn't he, Royval? I would see him as minus 150 is probably where I would put him in this matchup because Matt Schnell is going to be there. And as you mentioned, he's very, very patient. And if he's able to stay patient, I think that's his path to this fight. Let Royval get a little bit crazy. The counter opportunities will be there if you just stay patient. The issue is Matt Schnell can kind of get baited into those firefights a little bit, and that's where he can find himself in some trouble. He'll be patient, but second somebody starts hitting him, he'll bite down on that mouthpiece, and he wants to get him back almost immediately. And that's kind of where Royval shines, where he hits you with one, waits for you to come back, and then he throws either like those head kicks or the big wild shots that he throws, the flying knees, stuff like that. And that's where he gets people in trouble. And I could see Schnell getting into that situation versus Royval, where he's patient, he gets hit, and then he goes, and then Royval's right there for the counter. And that's kind of how I see Royval being able to finish this fight is Schnell gets just a little bit ahead of himself, where if he would just stay a little bit patient, he could probably work out a decision in this matchup. So I understand why Royval is a favorite. I love Brandon Royval. I think you need to be careful if you're saying Royval is a lock in this matchup because we've seen him get knocked out before. So Royval's the pick. I think the odds are a little bit wide. And with that said, I don't think I'm going to put him in my DraftKings.
Dude, everybody makes fun of how I pronounce people's names, but I mess up like the complicated Russian names that are 10 consonants and no vowels. You say Royval. You say Serial Gone. Like you butcher names. I don't know why I get the hate for the name. Like you guys pronounce names with 11 consonants and one vowel. Jacob can't Royval, and he's saying.
What am I saying? Nobody in the chat is saying I'm saying it wrong. Brandon Royval.
The chat's delayed. You're saying it like there's an E in there, and it's embarrassing for.
I'm saying Brandon Royval.
That's
what I say. Brandon Royval. What's his name? Royval.
No.
Brandon Royval.
There you go. Bingo bongo. $9,300. Absolutely not. Absolutely not spending $9,300. Now, granted, he could win by stoppage, as he does, or he could lose by stoppage, as he does. So I'm probably not spending the $9,300 in DraftKings. We'll see. What do you think?
I love Brandon R, but I'm not spending that. Bing bong.
Yeah, bing bong. Yeah, although that says bingo bongo. So $9,300. Not going to spend it. But listen, he may end up being in a phenomenal lineup because when he wins, he does score.
Yeah, he's definitely a multi-entry guy. If you're doing multi-entries, put him in one of them for sure.
And then we've got the Monkey Knife Fight strike line. I do not think this is an early stoppage. I think this is a war. History will tell you Brandon Royval goes, fights end early, but I think this is a war. Both these guys are they've both been stopped, but they're both also tough, right? So I think it's more and more. You raise the roof on that as well. So I think they're going to go at it. I think the counter striking and strike, it's just going to be like literally back and forth. Okay. Check that out. WeWantPicks.com/MKF. Sign up. They will instantly match your deposit up. Why do you have a Tootsie Roll just sitting on the counter?
I
luring children into your apartment?
When I went to Target today, I accidentally bought a big bag of. I don't even know how they got in my cart. I didn't go through the self.
Hey,
I didn't go through the self scan. It's not Halloween. I have a bowl of candy out in front of my door every night.
You kids want candy? Okay. Before what's his name shows up in your apartment? What's that guy's name?
Chris Hansen.
Chris Hansen. Before Chris Hansen shows up in your apartment, let's move on.
Tootsie Rolls and
WeWantPicks.com/bets. Sign up, make a deposit. We send you $50. Next up at UFC 274, we have there are 3 women fights on this card, and all 3 of them are much closer than what these odds.
Women. Oh.
All 3 of them are much closer than what the odds tell you. All 3. This is another tricky one. We have Macy Chiasson taking on Norma Dumont. Norma Dumont, 7-1.
Pronounce it.
7-1 overall, 3-2 in her last 5. Coming off the submission. Oh, I read that one wrong. Norma Dumont, 7-1 overall, 4-1 in her last 5, riding a 3-fight win streak. Macy Chiasson is 7-2 overall, 3-2 in her last 5.
The S's are silent.
Macy Chain.
Chian.
John, she's coming off that submission loss to Raquel Pennington. Macy Chiasson is tall and long, and she uses that length really well to jab you up and work her Muay Thai striking. She has a positive striking differential, a little better than 4-3, and she's got okay power with that. If you get past her length, you can have success staying in her face, but when she can keep the distance, she's very good and technically sound. She's coming off that submission loss to Raquel Pennington, where she actually was the one who initiated some of those grappling exchanges, which is surprising because that is not her way to win. Norma Dumont is a very good striker who is relaxed and patient in the cage. Her striking is very technical, and she has a 100% takedown defense. If you look at her strike differential, she lands about 4 significant strikes per minute and takes about 2 in return. On top of her technical striking, Norma has solid grappling, and her takedowns are not great, but she does have takedowns in every single one of her UFC fights, including 2 against Ashley Evans-Smith. Her grappling is more defensive than offensive, but she has solid top pressure and control. And I love Norma in this fight. I liked her to beat Aspen, and I like her again here. I think she has no problem crowding Macy and just sort of lighting her up in the pocket. I think she will work takedowns against the cage, but this is most likely a striking match. And the only thing that worries me is Macy's range and her ability to just continue circling, continue moving. Right now, the odds have Norma Dumont they've tightened a bit. They were 3-1 the other day, and now they've tightened a little bit to more than 2-1. I think those are wide, though. Macy is more than capable on her feet, and she's long enough to be a threat on the ground. Norma's the pick, but I think Norma should be a -130, -140 favorite here. And I think there's some recency bias with Macy getting stopped. What do you think, Jacob Heimer-Schmidt?
What did you say about the odds? You think they should be wider or closer?
Closer.
I don't know. I think they're probably right where they need to be. You mentioned Chase, Jesus Christ. You mentioned Macy and her length. I don't think she used her length that well. I mean, I was even watching one of the fights, and I can't remember if it was Bisping or DC commented about how I just wish that she would just keep pumping that jab out there, because when you got those long arms, I mean, that's what anytime I'm boxing, I'm constantly pumping the jab out there. I always had the reach advantage against my opponents. Constantly pumping the jab. I wish she would use her length more, use her front kicks a little bit more. I think this is a tailor-made matchup for Norma Dumont. I will mention too, when she fought Megan Anderson, it's Megan. I don't know why she says Megan. My sister's name is Megan. It's Megan. Okay, we're talking about pronunciation. When she fought Megan Anderson, she was able to get inside and get in those clinch positions, but she couldn't take her down because of Megan Anderson's size. Now, Megan Anderson is a little bit bigger and a little bit more physical than Macy, so it'll be interesting to see if that length bothers her again in those takedown attempts with those long legs that Macy has. Also, Megan knocked her out, but Macy does not have the power that Megan Anderson has. I don't think there's any threat of Norma Dumont being knocked out on the feet. I think the path to victory for her is probably just to take her down and control her. What I'm scared about, and my pick is Norma Dumont. I think that she should be a big favorite. I think she's going to win the fight. What I'm worried about is a lot of times on takedown attempts, and she did this, I think, versus Felicia Spencer. Felicia Spencer was throwing kicks. I think she caught a kick. Sometimes she starts reaching for kicks for her takedowns because she's not one of those true, shoot a blast double or grab a single. She tries to opportunistically, and it usually works, is catch a kick and get a takedown off the kick. With Macy, with those long legs, if you start going and trying to catch kicks and she comes high with a kick, now you're in big, big trouble. That's what I worry about the most for Norma. I think that's really Macy's path to victory is to kind of throw kicks and go leg, body, leg, and then hit with the high one. See what happens, but I think this is a Norma play all the way. I think she used her wrestling in this matchup, gets it to the ground, and wins that way. But if she wants to strike, I don't think there's any real danger in Macy in her hands. So I'm playing Norma Dumont all the way, and can't wait to see her in that octagon. Norma, I'm rooting for you. I'm a big fan, and I can't wait. I'll be ready.
You didn't change your last name. Norma Dumont, $9,100. That's probably pretty solid because I think she can win the striking exchanges. She'll definitely have control time, and I can see her with the takedowns. Do you agree, $9,100?
I think I already said like 3 people for $9,100. I don't think I can afford her at this point, Norma. Actually, you know what, Norma? Whatever you need. You need $9,100. You need 15 grand. You need 50 grand. You come see me, Norma. I'll get you straight.
So, I think we agree there. The Monkey Knife Fight line, though, I do think 104 is too high. I think that's too high for this fight. It's a 3-round fight, not a 5-round fight like the Aspen Lad was. I just think that's just too high.
I think it's high too because I think both these girls will engage in the clinch. I think they both feel comfortable in the clinch for whatever reason. Even Macy with her length, I think there's a lot of clinch work and not a lot of striking in the clinch work. So I think it's a less.
Yeah, I think it's a less as well. There could be some takedowns there, but I think it's less. Check that out.
Oh my God!
What?
Sorry, Plague Runner. I got you, Plague.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah,
Plague
there you
Runner
go.
with a $5 donation. Thank you very much, Plague.
Read it,
is
Angelo.
genuinely appreciated. It says, for that cake. And then it's a peach and a cake.
Do you know what that's for, Angelo?
I can figure it out.
Say it out
Thank you
loud.
very much, Plague. Thank you very much,
I don't get it.
Plague Runner.
Could someone explain it to me? Angelo, can you explain that to me? I'm lost right now.
I am the oldest one, most likely, between the live chat and the live stream. So absolutely not. Guys, WeWantPicks.com/bets. Sign up, make a deposit, let us know, and we will send you $50 as a thank you.
Those Venom kits. We're gonna test those Venom kits again this week, boys.
Next up, at UFC 274, we have Randy Brown taking on
What happened to
Khaos.
the other fight? What happened to the Andre Fialho fight?
It's next, you dummy.
I thought it was the first fight of the card.
No. Okay, well, let me redo that intro.
Next up.
At UFC 274, we have Randy Brown taking on Khaos Williams. Randy Brown, 14-4 overall, 4-1 in his last 5, coming off a decision win over Jared Gooden. Khaos Williams is 13-2 overall, 4-1 in his last 5, coming off the knockout win over Miguel Baeza. Randy Brown's a very good striker who uses his range really well. He's stupid tall for this weight class, and he takes advantage of that. He uses long jabs and kicks to keep you at bay, and then when he's ready, he will use his speed to initiate solid boxing exchanges. He has nice trip and Uchimata takedowns with solid jiu-jitsu on the match. He's very good, and he's a lot of fun to watch. If you don't know what an Uchimata, I guarantee you don't, Jacob. If you don't know what an Uchimata
If you guys
takedown
don't
is,
know what the Uchimata is, that's where you remember the 90s. You guys did the Uchimata. Dun, 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 Uchimata.
Okay, all right.
Dun,
Just-
dun, dun,
shit
dun,
it.
Uchimata.
an Uchimata takedown, it's almost like a whizzer. It's a hip toss, but you got like an overhook there. You can get it off of a whizzer. Then you throw your hips in, you throw your leg across the body, and you go from there. Khaos Williams. He's always fun to watch and never in a boring fight. He just walks people down. He has a ton of power and solid low kicks. And he uses those low kicks to take out your legs, and then he just comes right up the top hunting for a KO. He's got power. He's durable, and he's always live for a knockout. He's coming off the come-from-behind win over Miguel Baeza, and honestly, he was able to showcase his durability there and on his feet because his composure on the mat was pretty solid as well. This card is loaded with fun fights, and this is absolutely another one. We have two strikers who aren't afraid to mix it up and have their own striking styles. Randy Brown likes to use his range to loosen you up before coming in with the power, and Khaos Williams likes to rough up your legs before he headhunts. And as of right now, Khaos Williams is sitting as the slight favorite, and I imagine it's because of his power, because I actually think Randy's the more technical fighter. I think Randy has the better grappling as well. I just don't know if he will get the opportunity to use it. Two of three Randy's UFC losses were by KO, and I do think Khaos has the takedown defense to keep it standing and the raw power to end it. We saw it in his last fight. Khaos was on the wrong side of most of that fight, and it didn't matter. And that was late in the third round. He still had that power, still got it done. So he's not even a first round or bust guy. Before I go to you, Jacob, what do we got here? Chris Riley, this is our monkey knife fight, man. $5 super chat. When I'm forced to work on my day off, my lives aren't the only things that are high. Well, that explains some of these numbers, Chris.
I don't get it.
Anybody watching, Chris Riley is the one who sets these monkey knife fight lines. So if you think they're crazy,
I don't get it.
go in there now, play those lines before
My
he
lines
fixes them.
aren't the only things that are high.
WeWantPicks.com.
Does he live in Denver?
MKF. Jacob,
Mile
what do you
High?
think?
Where's Chris live? Outside of Denver?
Okay, can you
Everest?
stay on task?
He goes mountain climbing on his days off.
Okay,
That's
come
what
on.
it is. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, you mentioned the Baeza fight. I think that this is going to be exactly like that Baeza fight because Randy Brown is another one of those very dynamic strikers. He's one of those very dynamic strikers. He's very confident in his striking. He kind of shows off in the octagon. And if you're Khaos, you can't get caught up in that because if Khaos starts chasing another one of those first round finishes that he's known for his big power. If he starts chasing that finish early, he's going to find himself being countered because Randy Brown is very dynamic. He's very good at his counters. He's very precise. And he has very good power. So if you're Khaos Williams, you play this almost exactly like the Miguel Baeza fight. Let him do his thing. You know the opportunities are going to be there later, right? Miguel, those dynamic strikers in the second round, the third round, they get less. Their footwork is more sloppy. They get slower in their strikes. Their hands don't get back up to their face, right? The opportunities will be there late against Randy Brown. So do not chase that first round finish. Stalk them, and wait for those opportunities. They're going to be there. You're going to be able to finish this fight. And I really think that this is going to be Khaos Williams is either going to need knockdowns to win rounds, kind of like Cheeto did, right? He won rounds with knockdowns. I think he's going to, if it goes to a decision, he's going to need knockdowns, or he's going to need to finish Randy Brown, because if he doesn't get knockdowns and he can't finish Randy Brown, he's going to be the more patient fighter. And Randy Brown is one of those guys that judges just love to watch, right? He's doing wild stuff. He's showing off. If you miss him, he does this. He's talking to you. He's going to win the judges' scorecards if you don't knock him down or knock him out. So don't try to do it early, but second, third round, turn up the pressure a little bit. Those opportunities will be there. I think that those opportunities are going to be there late for Khaos. He's never been knocked out. He knocks people out. I'm picking Khaos Williams in this matchup.
Yep, I hear you. And it's one of those weird spots where he's not the better fighter, but he is absolutely the more dangerous fighter. And what I don't normally go that route. I would normally go with the better fighter, but what makes him especially dangerous is second, third round. He continues to have that power, continues to have the speed. He doesn't get frustrated. He doesn't get in his own head that he's down rounds, and he's able to get it done. Whereas a lot of these guys are first round or bust, and that is not Khaos Williams. $8,300, probably a solid price, especially if you think he's going to get a knockout.
Yeah, it's interesting because he could lose a striking decision if he doesn't get that knockout. So there's 30 points gone, and he's going to be the more patient fighter in this matchup too. So if you think he's going to get it, I think he's going to get it. He might be a play for me. We'll see how the week plays out, but yeah, it's a tough play. But 83 is pretty good value.
Yeah, I like that price point. I mean, we'll see what the lineup looks like, but I do like that price point because he's somebody that's live for a knockout. And honestly, the best play here, don't even worry about the Monkey Knife Fight strike line. Listen, Monkey Knife Fight has a prop game called Knockout Kings. You pick any three fighters on the entire fight card, any three, and if one of them wins by KO or TKO, you can 25% your money. 2 wins, you 2.5 times your money. I always do the 25%. You might as well. Listen, it's not a ton of money. We do it every single week. It adds up. And frankly, Khaos Williams should be one of those three people in that lineup. And if you want 50 free bucks, WeWantPicks.com/bets. Sign up, make a deposit. We send you $50. And next up at UFC 274, we have a really weird fight. So we have a last-minute fight, but this entire fight is last-minute, meaning Andre Fialho was not on the card. Cameron VanCamp was not on the card. And then all of a sudden, they're just fighting each other, and they're on the card. So this wasn't – they're both short notice. I don't know why they did this. We already had 14 fights. It's not like it was light. Neither one of these guys is a megastar that you want to squeeze on. I don't know how this fight came together, why this fight came together.
I think Andre wanted to fight again because he just fought. Obviously, we know he just fought. I think he wanted to fight again.
Just like
I know, but I think he wanted to fight again, and then they wanted to push it to next week. And then for some reason, this is what I heard anyway. And then for some reason, it's like the UFC was like, "No, we're going to do it this week." And Andrew was like, "All right, I guess we're doing fighting this week." So
yeah, it just doesn't make any sense.
Somebody in the chat probably knows.
Either way, it is still a very fun fight, and it should be entertaining. So we got Andre Fialho taking on Cameron VanCamp, both of them on short notice. Andre Fialho, 14-5, 4-1 in his last 5, coming off a spectacular knockout literally 2 weeks ago, just 2 weeks ago. Cameron VanCamp, 15-5 overall, 4-1 in his last 5, riding a 4-fight win streak, and he's making his official UFC debut. Andre Fialho's a striker. He's got a nice double jab, heavy leg kicks, and solid takedowns when he needs them. He has legitimate power in his hands, which he showcased just a few weeks ago when he stepped up on short notice and then terminated Miguel Baeza. He'll mix up inside and outside leg kicks, and he uses those really well. His issue, though, is his defense needs some work. He was very hittable against Michel Pereira in his UFC debut, and if you go back and watch some of his PFL fights, he was really hittable there as well. Cameron VanCamp is a wild brawler who has proven himself to also be a capable grappler. He's a lightweight who occasionally comes up to welterweight and will definitely be undersized if he sticks around this division. Cameron is definitely a finisher with 10 wins by submission and 4 wins by knockout. But he was supposed to make his UFC debut on short notice against Nicholas Mata back in September. That was canceled, and here he is again on short notice. And this could be a really fun fight. Both guys are fun strikers who can grapple when they need to. Fialho will absolutely have the power advantage, but he is hittable, and VanCamp's wild attack style could be an issue. I actually think if Cameron wants to win this fight, he needs to grapple. We've seen Fialho held down in the past, and that needs to be VanCamp's game plan. Unfortunately, he is undersized. He should be a lightweight, and I think he's going to struggle with Fialho's power and size. So Fialho's the pick, and depending on how crazy these odds get, I think he's a parlay piece as well. What do you think, Jacob Lines?
Well, I will say we need to be very, very careful because I've seen a lot of people be like, oh, Fialho is this. Fialho's a parlay piece. He's a lock this week. And that's because nobody knows about Cameron VanCamp. Guess who does know about Cameron VanCamp? Me, because I have a friend that trained with him and knows all about him, gave me all the inside information about Cameron VanCamp. He's from Indiana. He's another Indianimal. We just saw Darren Elkins show how Indiana tough people are. Angelo tried to slap me this week, and I put him down. Indiana tough. Cameron VanCamp is one of those. So I'm a little bit biased in this pick, but I can give you some real information that was given to me about Cameron VanCamp. This is short notice, but he has been training for a phone call. He has been he's not a couch guy that's just waiting for. He's been in the gym training, just waiting for this phone call. I asked him, is he going to go to his wrestling in this matchup? Because you look at his Sherdog page. I'm sure a lot of people look at his Sherdog page. Who is this guy? A lot of submissions. He must be a grappler. Very, very good grappler, but he is an opportunistic grappler. He doesn't really want to wrestle. He loves exchanges. He's a born fighter. He could have went to college for wrestling, but instead he switched to MMA to get that early start because he just loves fighting. He loves to throw down. And I think the issue in this matchup is going to be that Andre Fialho is hittable, right? He is very, very hittable, and that's almost plays into his game plan because he is going to have more power than almost anyone that he faces. And when you're hitting a guy, you're going to feel like you're having success, and you probably are having success until that big power shot comes. So in this matchup, I think this is much closer than people expect because Cameron VanCamp he's ready, he's game. My friend says nobody works harder than him. He's going to have the cardio, he's going to have the endurance. I worry that he is so game to strike, to brawl in this matchup. I think if he relied on the wrestling and went to his grappling, maybe early in the round, right? Try to get that early takedown, take some gas out of Andre, and then do the striking later in the round. So it worries me that he wants to stand and strike with Fialho because Fialho is going to have the power advantage, but VanCamp is powerful in his own right, and he is a dynamic striker. He switches stances a lot. That could give Fialho issues if he's come with the power shot. He's not going to be where he thinks he's going to be there. I think he's got the advantage in the wrestling, in the grappling. So I think there's an opportunity here, guys, and I'm not going to make him my lock of the week. I'm not going to announce my lock of the week on this video. You got to tune in. I'm doing my own video now. I'll announce my lock of the week. But he is a candidate for lock of the week. We'll see how it plays out because I think I'm going to drop that video on Wednesday. I'm a little bit biased. He is an Indiana guy, but he's going to be ready, guys. And Fialho, if he knocks him out, that's what Fialho does. But this guy is going to be ready. He's one of those dogs that just loves to fight. He's a dynamic striker, and he's got wrestling and very, very good jiu-jitsu in his back pocket. So if weird things start to happen, if there's weird scrambles, VanCamp is going to be ready for this fight, guys. So if you guys are looking for locks and parlay pieces and you think Fialho is one of those guys because you don't know anything about Cameron, I would say be very, very careful. So my official pick, I'm going with Cameron. I got to go with Cameron. We'll see if he's lock of the week on Wednesday.
Well, you're sticking with your people. I get it. I love that you're big time in everybody. Watch your own video. You're not going to hand out that stuff right now. Good for you. Yeah, these people were brutal to you in the comments. So screw them. Big time.
Unreal. And there was nobody here like Bert,
relax. You're about
Jesse.
to go on a rant.
No, I was saying there was none of everyone that's in here right now was not one of those people, and nobody
No,
was in there
live chat
defending.
people- no,
I
the
was
live chat
like,
people are
I
always
was like in there. I'm ducking and diving. I'm throwing jabs. I got no support. I got no corner, man. I'm in there, man. You guys got to help me out.
The live chat people are always pretty cool. It's the commenters.
Oliver, if you faded the pick, you lost last week. Darren Elkins won, so you're 0-1. Congratulations.
Anyway, I'm on the Philo side. You're on the VanCamp side for personal reasons. So I do think Philo wins. I think he's a parlay piece. We have absolutely no fantasy information available yet. WeWantPicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of our 5 betting partners. Make a deposit. Let us know, and we send you $50. Next up, at UFC 274, we have Donald Cerrone taking on Joe Lauzon in a weird fight. This is a weird fight. Straight up. Opening up the main card of a pay-per-view, we have a fight that Bellator would put together. 2 aged-out UFC guys that the fans enjoy watching, but the fight is absolutely meaningless. And I'm okay with it, but it's a weird fight for a pay-per-view opener. Donald Cerrone's 36-16 overall.
No, sorry, the first comment I read was double KO.
Yeah, except Joe Lauzon can't KO anybody. Donald Cerrone, 36-16 overall, 0-4-1 in his last 5. He is looking for his first win in a couple of years. Joe Lauzon, 28-15. He's 2-3 in his last 5, and he's making a comeback after a knockout win, TKO, 2.5 years ago. And Donald Cerrone's a legend. He's a fun striker with incredible kicks and sneaky power. He's a slow starter, but once he hits his rhythm, he flows really well and he puts together incredible combinations. But he isn't just a striker. He has very slick submissions where he uses his scrambles and his lengths well to grab arm bars and even throw up triangles from the bottom. He has 47 fights under the UFC WEC umbrella and has literally fought everybody there was to fight at 155 and half of them at 170. He has wins over the current champion, Charles Oliveira, everybody's favorite coach that you all obsess over, James Krause, Edson Barboza, former champion Eddie Alvarez, former champion Benson Henderson, and so many more people. Donald Cerrone has done more in his career than 99% of people in MMA. And Joe Lauzon is making his official return, his UFC return, after more than 2 years away. And if you're not familiar with Joe, I get it. He's been very inactive, but he's an OG. He's been in the UFC since 2006. He came off The Ultimate Fighter season 5. He's a grappler with incredible heart and insane fight IQ. He's definitely a throwback to the 2006 days of MMA where you can be very tough, very good at one thing and still do well. And that's exactly what Joe is. He's not the most athletic guy. He does not have a ton of power, but he's incredibly intelligent and he has solid grappling skills. He thinks through his exchanges and his game plan, and he game plans well. He's an excellent coach running a nice little gym in Massachusetts. I have to imagine this is a retirement fight for him. And listen, this fight means literally nothing to the division. It is a ton of fun. I appreciate that both of these guys get to fight somebody at the same point in their career, meaning they're not just feeding them to young up-and-comers to try to build a name. They were doing that to Donald for a little bit, and I think they stepped back and were like, okay, let's let him ride off into the sunset his way. The fans really enjoy him. And the odds have tightened up. Donald opened at a minus 300 favorite. He's now only minus 165 favorite.
What's the...
What?
Minus 300? No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Jesus Christ. I didn't set the odds. That's what they opened up as. And now he's a minus 165. And that's continuing to go down. He's a minus 170 the other day. I do think Donald Cerrone wins, and I'll tell you why. Joe Lauzon needs to get it to the ground to win, and I just don't see him doing that. I just don't see him having the ability to get Donald Cerrone to the ground. Donald Cerrone has had issues recently with big, heavy power strikers. That is not who Joe Lauzon is. Jacob, why don't you go pretend you know who Joe Lauzon is and give us a breakdown?
No, it really doesn't. It's not about Joe Lauzon right now. It's how can you make somebody a 300 favorite? I don't care who they're fighting. The guy has lost 10 of his last 14 fights and like 1 million in a row, and hasn't even had a glimmer of like, oh, there's Cowboy again in his last few fights. There's been nothing that Cowboy has done where I thought, Yeah, I'm definitely going to pick him in his next fight against, it doesn't matter who he's fighting. If he was fighting me, I might pick me against him at this point. But I mean, with that said, I can't trust Cowboy until he proves it. I love Cowboy. Everyone loves Cowboy. I love Cowboy. I hope that Cowboy wins. I hope Cowboy goes out there and does the signature, head kick, boom, lights out, Joe Lauzon. And like you said, rides off into the sunset. But until he shows me that he still has that ability, I just can't pick somebody that's lost 10 of the last 14 fights. And Joe Lauzon, he had the layoff, but his last fight was a win against a former Lock of the Week candidate. So that's a fantastic win. And Jonathan Pierce, the big wrestler, knocked him out. So, at least he's coming off some sort of momentum. I know that he hasn't fought in a while, but I just haven't seen anything from Donald. I hope he wins. I'll be rooting for Donald. I don't think anyone's going to be rooting. I don't know how anyone could root against Donald Cerrone. He's a great guy, a great fighter, a monument to the sport. But, I got to go with Joe Lauzon in the underdog until Donald shows me something. I hope I'm wrong. This is one of those picks where I hope I'm wrong. I'm rooting for Donald, but I can't trust him and I can't pick him.
I hear you. We have a troll in the comments. We have Cornholio. You're a full-blown troll. Cornholio's like, how could you possibly see that Joe Lauzon can't take down Donald Cerrone? Oh, funny you ask. I have the UFC stats up in front of me. Joe Lauzon could not take down Chris Gutzmacher. He could not take down Clay Guida. He could not take down – oh, no, he did take down Stevie Ray. So great win there. Great win there. He could not take down – let's see, Diego Sanchez. He couldn't take down Evan Dunham. He couldn't take down Ali Quinta. He couldn't take down Michael Johnson. He couldn't take down Jim Miller the first time they fought. He couldn't take down Anthony Pettis. He couldn't take down Melvin Gillard. Couldn't take down Kurt Warburton. Couldn't take down George Staropoulos. Couldn't take down... Oh, that's the end of the list. Okay, so there's that.
Did he take down Jeremy Stevens? I see Jeremy Stevens on there with an armbar.
Absolute troll muppet. Donald Cerrone, I'm not spending $8,800 on him.
Hey, Cornholio, I'm with you, man. Don't listen to him.
Okay. Yeah, Joe Lauzon's a wrestling beast. Take Cornholio's picks. Cornholio,
he just offered to bet
UFC
you.
picker of all time.
He just offered. He said he's going to become a member and he's going to bet you. Let's get into this right now.
No, let's relax. I'm attacking his comment of the takedowns comment. I think Donald Cerrone wins, but I said these odds are crazy.
I would bet him then. Then bet him.
Okay. Do me a favor. You're not going to bully me.
That's exactly what you do. If I start talking, that's exactly what you'd say. All right, let's bet.
I'll bet him Joe Lauzon doesn't get takedowns. That I'll bet.
How many takedowns? Just one? He won't get one? How many?
You got the line has to be two because he could always trip.
So he couldn't take him down, but now you want one takedown to be free. I'm on your side, Cornelio. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you two are very similar people. Anyway, I'm not spending $8,800 on Donald Cerrone in DraftKings because I agree he's had some issues in the past, but I do think he can get it done. Joe Lauzon $7,400. I just don't. I can't spend that either. This is out of my DraftKings lineup. Monkey Knife Fight. I'm not touching it as well. Both of their chins are gone. They're both getting finished. I'm out of that as well. What are you laughing at?
I don't know. You're Gruce Fraba. Okay. Gruce Fraba. Just try and say it once. Gruce Fraba.
I just know, like from Bad Boys, Woosa.
You don't know Gruce Fraba?
No, I don't. Go ahead.
Anger Management? You never seen Anger Management? Jack Nicholson? Adam Sandler?
I don't remember it.
Gruce Fraba.
Okay, can you? I mean, like.
Did you ask me something? I thought we were going to the next fight.
Monkey Knife Fight.
It's probably a more. They're probably just slapping each other across the face for 3 rounds.
All right. Well, I don't know what to do with Monkey Knife Fight because I think, they're both pretty worn out at this point. But go to WeWantPicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of our 5 betting partners, and we will send you $50. Next up at UFC 274, we have a rematch. Ovince St. Preux taking Mauricio Shogun Hua. That fight happened in 2014, and Ovince St. Preux TKO'd him back then. Mauricio Shogun Hua, 27-12 overall, 2-2-1 in his last 5, coming off a stoppage loss to Paul Craig. Ovince St. Preux, 25-16 overall, 2-3 in his last 5, riding a 2-fight knockout loss streak. Not great. Ovince St. Preux has been bouncing between heavyweight and light heavyweight the last few years, but I'm glad he's at light heavyweight here. He's a talented guy, but he can't hang with the big boys. He's a great striker who hits hard, but he's also hot and cold, and he doesn't turn it on when he needs to. It actually gets stupid frustrating to watch because he has losses like the Ben Rothwell loss that could have been wins. A couple more strikes, a couple more steps forward, and that is your fight. Like literally gun shy, tentative, whatever it was, is the reason he's lost a couple of those decisions. He has takedowns when he needs them and submissions to make him dangerous. I actually think he has the UFC record for Von Flue chokes, which is a very specific choke that a fighter named Von Flue invented, coming off The Ultimate Fighter, actually. And he's got 3 of them. 3, which is a lot. I don't even think Von Flue has 3 of them. Shogun Rua, he's an OG shootbox guy and a Pride legend, and nothing I can say in this breakdown can articulate how incredible Shogun Rua's career has been. Go look up highlight reels. This guy understands violence. Like, so fun. A true shootbox OG. I mean, it's just incredible watching that guy's Pride career. He's one of the most violent guys to ever fight professionally. And when he was younger, he was an explosive striker with devastating knees and a wild clinch. He's a bit slower, but he's still violent. He still hits hard. He has solid takedowns, and he is a BJJ black belt, but it's more there for defense because when he gets takedowns, he's looking for a TKO. And this is a great matchup for both guys. Shogun will have grappling and volume advantage over St. Preux, but St. Preux will likely have a power and speed advantage over Shogun. I think both these guys can win this fight, and I wouldn't be surprised if these two just – what are you doing? You talking to your dog? If these two absolutely went to war. I know they're both aging out, and they do tend to get stopped in their losses, but this is finally a matchup against somebody their age at the same point in their career. This is pretty similar to the last fight we broke down. I honestly don't know what to do here. My gut is saying Shogun, but I'm probably just ignoring how slow he's become, and my brain is just I grew up watching the guy, so I just still have those I have an emotional attachment to him as far as the fighting is concerned. Ovince St. Preux is probably the safe pick here, but minus 250 is crazy. That dude's getting knocked out left and right, has absolutely no volume. And if he's going to strike with Shogun at this point in their careers, both their chins are gone. Anything can happen. So, Ovince St. Preux is the pick. But he does, he's going to have to lean on that 66% takedown offense, I think, because I think he's going to have to get some takedowns in here. I know he stopped Shogun with strikes in the past, and it's also very possible, but we just watched Shogun get stopped and taken down. He still has power in his hands. He still has solid kicks, and Ovince St. Preux has gotten more tentative as time has gone on, and that won't help him in this fight. So he is the pick, but, pretty low confidence in that fight in general. What do you think?
Yeah, this is if Ovince St. Preux shows up and is the Ovince St. Preux that he can be, he should absolutely be like a 300 favorite. I think that's why the odds maker have it about a 250 favorite. But we've seen Ovince St. Preux stand in the octagon and literally just kind of walk around. I mean, the guy will literally do absolutely nothing in there. So it just really comes down to if Ovince St. Preux wants to win this fight, he can win the fight. But if he feels like not winning the fight for whatever reason, that we've seen him act like that before, this could easily be a Shogun victory. So I agree that this is like almost like a flip a coin on what kind of Ovince St. Preux is going to show up. And that really kind of just determines this fight. If he wants to win, he has the tools and should be able to pretty much dominate this fight. But if he just kind of walking around and just kind of throwing this and throwing that, and Shogun gets in his face, Shogun can win a decision pretty easily if Ovince St. Preux shows up like that. And it'll also be interesting to see what kind of shape Ovince St. Preux shows up in, because I think his first fight at heavyweight, he was kind of like a sloppy mess. And then his second fight at heavyweight, he was supposed to have a light heavyweight fight that turned into I think it was a fight switch that turned into a heavyweight. So he was a little bit leaner in that matchup, and he looked a little bit better against Bozer, but he was still a little bit, just kind of patient and doing his thing. So if he comes in, and looks good or whatever, that's the pick. I mean, Ovince St. Preux is the pick, but he could easily,
I'll be rooting. There's a few fights on this card where my pick and what I want to happen don't align. I will be so happy to have this pick wrong and have Shogun Rua win. He has brought like so much entertainment to anybody that watched any of his fights over the last freaking 20 years. you can't not root for that guy. And a lot of you guys are saying in the comment section, Ovince Preux, his heart's not in it anymore. Where Shogun, he's old, he's slow, but like he's not a quitter. Although he did literally just quit in his last fight. But he wasn't getting out of that position, and he goes out there and he tries to win. But Ovince is the pick. He's going to be faster, stronger, more athletic. And if he actually shows up and puts it together, he should actually, shouldn't really have a problem with Shogun.
They should replace the Royval fight with this fight. This should not be on the main card. I know that it's Shogun.
This fight and the Donald Cerrone fight do not belong on the main card. But
Donald is a good opener, right? Because it's going to get people there. People are going to get excited for Donald. I can see that. This one is just like, what the hell are we doing here, guys?
Yeah. DraftKings, I'm not touching it. $9,200 is an absurd price. They basically said, hey, beat him once, he'll beat him again. That was 2014. That was a very long time ago. But so not touching DraftKings. Do you have any feelings towards that?
It's probably the worst DraftKings value in DraftKings this week.
Probably, unless he stops Shogun, who just got stopped pretty quickly, and there's a very clear path. So anything's possible there, but I don't see it. 31-40, it is a low strike line. Chris did a good job on this line, making it pretty low. But I'm not going to touch it because Ovince Preux is so unreliable with his strikes. I'm just not going to touch it. And it might be a more or less, honestly, but too much going on. The chins are just both gone. It's too much.
It is too much.
Okay. Guys, if you do want to explore, honestly, what you should probably do, there's probably a stoppage in this fight. So throw St. Preux and Hua.
I don't know, man. I mean, they literally might just stare at each other. I literally, in my notes, I have
they're just getting stopped left and right.
Listed.
Both of them get stopped left and right.
Yeah, but when both people get stopped and they're both low volume, it's like sometimes you're scared to get stopped, so you don't throw because you don't want to get countered. Yeah. So you just kind of, and Ovince Preux is already one of those guys that will just kind of.
We'll see what happens. Anyway, WeWantPicks.com/MKF. If you want to mess around with Monkey Knife Fight and Knockout Kings, they'll instantly match your deposit up to $100. WeWantPicks.com/bets if you want $50 for free. Sign up, make a deposit with any one of our partners, and we send you $50. Next up, at UFC 274, we have Michael Chandler taking on Tony Ferguson. And this could be a really fun fight. Michael Chandler, 22-7 overall, 3-2 in his last 5, coming off an incredible fight with Justin Gaethje. Tony Ferguson, 25-6 overall, 2-3 in his last 5, and he's riding a 3-fight skid. Michael Chandler's a very good wrestler who likes to strike. He has a ton of power and solid pressure. He has no kicks, but he's absolutely a threat to wrestle. If we look at his short UFC career, he knocked out Dan Hooker ridiculously quick, and then he won that first round against Charles Oliveira. He almost finished Charles Oliveira in that first round, but then he was finished himself in the second round, and now he's coming off that absolute war with Justin Gaethje, where it seems like his chin has come back. Like he got hit hard and often and dropped and survived. His chin held up.
He literally did the Kimbo Slice backyard where he put his hands down, put his chin out, and Gaethje went pop, pop, and he just get a walk forward. He was just zombie mode. It was incredible.
Yeah. No, it was his chin, and his chin held up, which is why I think a lot of people like him in this fight. Tony Ferguson, he's coming back after a year layoff, and he's bringing a 3-fight losing streak with him. He looked like an unstoppable force when he was riding a 12-fight win streak loaded with submissions and TKOs. Style-wise, he's an active striker with a wide array and a wide variety of different strikes. He does not have a ton of power, but he breaks people with his constant pressure. He landed 104 strikes against Donald Cerrone and 115 against Anthony Pettis, and those fights did not see the third round. 115 strikes in 2 rounds. That is absurd. Tony's biggest issue is his head, though. If he's confident and he believes that he will win, then he's going to go out there and put on a show. But I think Justin Gaethje took something away from him, and he's just never going to be the same after that Justin Gaethje fight. Tony Ferguson supporters, I see you in the live chat. I saw you in the comment section the other day. You're going to talk about how tough he is, how crazy he is, how he can turn any fight into a war and how he breaks people. But that's honestly how Michael Chandler's been fighting as well. Go watch his trilogy with Eddie Alvarez. It might literally be one of the best trilogies in MMA. And I think every single thing that Tony does well, I think Michael Chandler does it just a little bit better. Maybe not the striking volume, but he has more power. He definitely has the better wrestling. And he has the same willingness to go out there and watch that Gaethje fight if you're questioning his heart. But Chandler's the pick. I absolutely love that they put this fight together, but Man, Tony Ferguson could come out there looking like he did just a few years ago, and Michael Chandler could come out there looking like he did in the Oliveira fight, clean and crisp in the first, and then his chin gives out. So many questions here, and these odds are stupid. Stupid odds. What do you think, Jake?
Yeah, the odds are a little bit wide, and people keep forgetting. Tony went on this crazy run, right? And he was supposed to fight for the title. He messed up his knee. Did his own rehab, which is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Came back, looked great. And in that stretch, he was on like a 12-fight winning streak. He fought Gaethje. People forget that in the end of that fight, and I keep talking about it, and I'll talk about the Gaethje fight as well, but people forget at the end of that second round, if he has 10 or 15 more seconds at the end of the second round, he absolutely flatlines Gaethje with an uppercut, stuns Gaethje, the round ends. If he has 10 more seconds, he finishes Justin Gaethje. He is now on like a 13 or 14 fight win streak. He is now fighting Khabib for the title. And this card looks completely different if he has 10 more seconds in the second round. Now, I know what happened after that, right? He gets beat by Justin Gaethje. He got demolished. He got demolished by Oliveira. He got demolished by Dariush. But in those fights, especially the Oliveira and Dariush fight, he's still there. He's still there in those fights, and I know that you kind of like roll your eyes at toughness, but he is tough. And there's one thing that I kind of noticed on the first embedded video. I don't know if I'm seeing things or whatever, but it looked like there's a cut healing over the eye of Michael Chandler. Very, very small. It looks like it's almost healed. But in this fight with Tony Ferguson and his elbows, I know it sounds stupid, but he already cuts people up enough, and we've seen Michael Chandler bleed before. If he hits one of those elbows and he already has a cut above his eye, that's going to become a real issue in this fight for Michael Chandler. Because Michael Chandler, he's the... I don't know if he's the better overall fighter in this matchup, but he is probably the better fighter. He's the more technical fighter. He's not going to get as crazy. And the thing that's going to help Michael Chandler in this matchup is his instincts. Even when he's tired, even when he's hurt, he knows what to do to get out of those situations. When he was clipped, even when he was clipped against Oliveira, he kind of knew what he was doing. If Tony Ferguson gets him in a bad situation, gets him in a scramble, is trying to get one of those darce chokes in, Michael Chandler has the explosion and the instincts to be able to get out of those situations. Damn it, man! I picked I picked Tony Ferguson originally because Michael Chandler does get hit, and he has been clipped, and that Gaethje fight was an anomaly, right? Because every other fight that he gets hit, it seems like he's chinny. He can survive. Even against Oliveira, he was dropped, and they stopped the fight, but it wasn't like he was knocked out cold, right? He still was like, let me try to do something in that matchup. Damn, man. I literally picked Tony Ferguson, then I went back to Michael Chandler. I'm picking Tony Ferguson. I'm picking Tony Ferguson. I don't feel good about it. I just feel like it's just one of those weird fights that Tony Ferguson is going to find a situation where he's losing, he gets clipped, there's a weird scramble, and Chandler might find himself in some danger on the ground after some blood is shed. So maybe the elbows make a difference. I'm going Tony Ferguson. I don't feel great about it. I wouldn't follow me. I'm going to sprinkle some money because I think these odds are a little bit wide. Michael Chandler is definitely the play. That's why he's a 400 favorite. But I'm going Tony Ferguson on a flyer, man.
Listen, I was one of the biggest Tony Ferguson haters for a while because I always just felt like he was not very good, but somehow winning, just somehow putting it together, somehow riding a streak like a journeyman that had like the greatest streak in the world. But it's hard to, eventually you can hate somebody as much as you want, but when he goes out there willing to die every single time. So I got respect for Tony Ferguson. Both these guys have laid it all out. So we'll see what happens. It should be a really fun fight. 6,600, 9,600. Honestly, I'm not going to give you guys advice. Do what you want there because you guys are so passionate. You don't give a shit what I say. Some of you were talking about Tony Ferguson. You'll see this Cheeto Vera all over again. You'll see. Spend the $6,600 then. That's a great price. And Michael Chandler, I think he's better, but $9,600, that's absurd. Tony Ferguson is tough as nails, and you need a stoppage to be worth $9,600. Alexander Romanov is worth $9,600 fighting Chase Sherman. Michael Chandler is not worth $9,600 fighting Tony Ferguson, although I do think he wins. You've nodded, so I will continue that.
Well, no, I was nodding at Imbe because it is crazy to kind of call Tony Ferguson a journeyman because in that journey he won 13 or 14
but
fights
that was
in
past.
a row.
That was me talking past tense. I was saying I was a Tony hater, and when he was mid streak, I'm like, he's just a journeyman. He's squeaking these out. He shouldn't. This is whatever. But and then over time, it's just impossible to not see him and be like, Jesus Christ, this guy's good. And these things happen.
Right, and this is a perfect fight because no matter who wins, it's good for the division, right? If Chandler wins, he's back in there for either the Gaethje, Oliveira fight or whoever. And if Tony Ferguson wins, and it's like, oh, Tony's back. Yeah, if Tony Ferguson wins, it's like, oh my God, he's back, and you can set up some crazy fights with him as well. So this is a win-win no matter who wins. I like both guys, so it's gonna be hard to see who I'm rooting for, but it's kind of hard not to pull for Tony, man.
I hear you. Monkey knife fight, I think it's more and more. I do think they go at it. I think it's a war. I do not think this is a quick knockout. I think it's a decision. So I love the more and more monkey knife fight. Check that out. WeWantPicks.com/MKF. They will instantly match your deposit up to $100. And all you need to do is say more or less on the strike line. You can triple your money. And if you want $50, 50 for free, WeWantPicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of our 5 betting partners. Make a deposit. And we send you $50. Next up at UFC 274, we have the co-main event of the evening. We have Rose Namajunas fighting Carla Esparza in a rematch from 2014. Rose Namajunas 11-4 overall. She's 4-1 in her last 5, and that lone loss was to Jessica Andrade, which she avenged. Carla Esparza is 18-6 overall, 5-0 in her last 5. And she's coming off a stoppage win about a year ago, 11 months ago. And this is a rematch from 2014. Carla took Rose down 5 times and submitted her in the 3rd round in that fight. And a lot has changed and nothing has changed. It's a very interesting fight. I mentioned all of the female fights.
What's that quote? Card. The more we something, the more we stay the same. The more we change, the more we stay the same. Something like that. That's
so beautiful. That is so beautiful.
I think that's Neil Young or something.
That's magnificent. That really is.
Armor TTs.
Wow. No, I mean, thank you so much for sharing that.
The more we change.
Okay. Rose Namajunas is in the
French
middle of her...
writer Jean-Baptiste Alphonse Carr.
Okay.
The more we change.
You'll get muted.
The more they I dare. I honestly dare you. I dare you. Watch what happens to the chat when you mute me.
Rose Namajunas is in the middle of her 2nd run as the UFC champion. She lost her belt the first time when she was dumped on her head by Jessica Andrade, and then won the title back with her spectacular knockout over Weili in April 2021. Rose is a very good fighter everywhere and definitely the more well-rounded fighter. She has excellent striking, very good wrestling, and solid BJJ. Rose has great footwork and deceiving power. She has wins over Angela Hill, Tisha Torres, Joanna Jędrzejczyk twice, Jessica Andrade, and Weili twice. And as much as I find myself wanting to pick against her, I cannot argue. I was talking. You know what's so funny? When I mute you, you can just unmute yourself. But
what?
Whatever. Yeah. Anyway, Carla Esparza is a very good wrestler that has 42 takedowns in 13 fights. There are 0 questions about what her game plan is going into a fight. She's short and she just likes to shoot those doubles under her taller opponent's jabs and strikes. Her striking isn't great, but she does use it pretty well to close that distance and get to grappling range. Carla has okay top pressure, but not as good as you would like, and that's why she has so many fights with more than 4 takedowns. If her top pressure was so good, she'd have 3 takedowns in a fight. But she's got 4, 5, 7, 8, and then obviously people are standing up on her. People are standing up on her, and so she works for those takedowns again. And I think this entire
that side you went, like, Jesus, like, can we be done with this?
I think this entire fight comes down to takedowns because I don't think Carla can hang in a pure striking match. And Rose does get taken down pretty often. Weili took her down 5 times in their last fight. And I honestly think Weili won that fight, and you trolls will make come, oh, you're still here. Bad read, bad. I think Weili won that fight. Either way, that's not the point here. The point was Weili took down Rose Namajunas 5 times in that fight. And if Carla can get inside and keep a wrestling pace for 25 minutes, then this is absolutely her fight. This is such a tough pick, and it's taking everything in me to not just immediately pick Carla Esparza. Rose was taken down 5 times in that fight, and the judges still gave it to her. And Weili landed the same amount of strikes. I also think Weili is not as good of a wrestler as Carla Esparza, but the reason she was so successful with her takedowns is because her striking is a threat. Weili can threaten with the strikes. We didn't see a lot of wrestling out of her in the past, which is why she was able to get those 5 takedowns. There are 0 questions about what Carla Esparza is going to do. 0 questions. Rose is ready for it. Rose threatens off her back when she does get taken down. She's got a good get-up game. I don't know why I'm not a Rose Namajunas fan. I've picked against her a few times. I disagree with decisions when she gets them. I'm not a Rose Namajunas fan. You guys know I'm a lifelong wrestler, and I usually pick these wrestlers. But I'm going Rose Namajunas here. I think she's I know. I hate it. This is one of the picks.
This is honestly the most surprising pick you've ever made. To me, anyway. I thought you were going to be all over Carlos because I know that you don't really like Rose as a fighter. You love wrestlers. This is very surprising.
I surprised myself. And honestly, I may be getting influenced by the freaking commenters and all that crap. Because Carla Esparza, that's what she does. But the problem is she will have to do it. She's not really a threat, right? She will have to do it for 25 full minutes. Rose is a submission threat. Rose is a threat on her feet. She does scramble off her back. So I'm going to go with Rose here, but I will be so happy to get this pick wrong. I love Carla Esparza. If she wins this fight, fuck the pick record. I don't give a shit about that. I will be so happy if I get the pick wrong. But I am going with Rose here because Carla only has one way to win and Rose has several. What do you think, Jacob Lutz?
My ears are burning. Did I just hear what I thought I heard? Because that gives me a free pass to just start dropping like left and right. Because that was the big boy. That was the big boy. But yeah, you mentioned it. The key to this is 25 minutes of wrestling because you have to win. And she doesn't really have to be, it's not really 25 minutes. It's really 15 minutes, right? You have to win 3 rounds. She has to be able to get takedowns in 3 rounds. And so what I went is I watched the Marina Rodriguez fight, right? Because Marina Rodriguez is a very, very dynamic, powerful striker, kind of similar to Rose, right? Marina has more power than Rose, but they're both very dynamic strikers. So when you watch that fight, she was able to get the takedowns. There was a split decision, but you start looking at those 3rd round takedowns, and those were pretty lungy, desperation takedowns, and she was able to kind of get those legs behind and trip Marina to be able to secure that victory. But in a 5-round fight, if she can't get let's say she can't win round 1. Let's say Rose comes out ready, is able to keep her at distance. She's got great kicks, that front kick, the jab, is able to keep her at distance, and she can't win their first round. Now you have to win 3 of the next 4 with your takedowns, and you kind of got to go all in. You can't really lose another round because rounds 4 and 5, I don't know if she can get takedowns in rounds 4 and 5. I mean, Rose has been in those 5-round fights. She knows what she needs to do. Against Weili, Rose was getting her own takedowns in the 5th round of that fight to kind of secure that victory for her. And if Carla's not able to get the takedowns in the 4th and 5th round, which I don't know if she is, and Rose is able to stuff the early takedowns, which I think she can, then now it's Carla only has the 2nd and 3rd rounds to win. I don't think she's going to finish Rose. She's not going to outstrike Rose. She's not going to submit Rose. So now the path to victory is so narrow. I understand you only have to win 3 rounds, and Carla only needs to get those takedowns in those 3 rounds, but with the level of competition that Roses face and knowing that Carla is going to be all in, and people want to talk about James Krause. Trevor Whitman's fighters are always ready, man. Even Gaethje against Khabib, he was ready. He was landing bombs and had those opportunities against Khabib and found those openings. Rose is going to be ready for the wrestling early. I don't think Carla can get the takedowns late, and that's why I'm choosing Rose. If Carla gets the takedowns and is able to control her, good for Carla. I think that path is there. I don't think she can do it for 3 rounds, and I think that's why I'm going to take Rose by decision, or maybe a weird submission that in a scramble or something like that. But I think this is a Rose fight, and I'm a big Rose fan, so I'm a little bit biased, but I'm going Thug Rose. I'm going Thug Rose.
Yeah, I went against everything. I'm not a Rose Namajunas fan at all. I'm a diehard lifelong wrestler, and I should be picking the wrestler here, but and maybe it's because Rose I've been wrong so many times. She's like the only female fighter. I can't pick her fights right. And so, this is like George St. Pierre back in the day. I always was like, he's overrated. I picked against him. Then I finally picked him to win, and then Matt Serra knocked him out. So maybe that's
you did the same thing with, I think you did the same thing with Connor too. I think every Connor fight you got wrong.
So I'm hoping Rose Namajunas loses, but logically I got to pick her to win. $8,900 in DraftKings. You got to have one of these women in DraftKings. And Carla's probably the better value because of the takedowns, because of the control. 5 points each.
I'm spending the $4.99 from Hank Hill on the donation. He says Rose is a I feel pick. Carla is based off evidence and logic. One Cejudo champ Wei Li is 1 for 10. The wrestling Carla is. Either of you two want to wager?
First of all, you read that like an idiot.
I thought, it was the cadence wasn't great, but because I thought he was like talking. I thought he was talking bad about Carla, but he's picking Carla.
No, he was saying that Wei Li
is 1 of 10 of the wrestlers
Wei Li hung out with Henry Cejudo for a week. He's not near the wrestler that Carla Esparza is. Still has. Listen, I hear you, but what I will say, the reason Wei Li had success. I can't believe you're
picking Rose.
I know.
I literally can't believe it.
The reason Wei Li had success with her takedowns is because she historically wasn't taking anybody down. So that's not something anybody was prepared for or expecting. Then all of a sudden she's shooting takedowns and she's a threat on her feet. So you have to worry about her hands and then a takedown comes. You don't have to worry about shit with Carla Esparza except the takedown. And that doesn't mean Rose is going to learn takedown defense. She was, she gets taken down.
She stuffed a few takedowns for Wei Li late.
Yeah, because she started to figure it out, But anyway,
right.
a very hesitant Rose Namajunas pick that I will be very happy to get wrong. Monkey knife fight, I think it's more and more. I think they go at it. I think it's a million strikes. I think obviously Carla does get takedowns, but I don't think she's going to get enough to win this fight. I mean, Rose was taken down 5 times in her last fight. The strikes were even, and she still got the decision. And I think it's more of the same. Judges are sort of wise to these desperation shots. Even when you get them, judges are like, nah, you looked panicky. I'm not going to give you credit for that. And I think that's what's going to start to happen. You agree with the more and more monkey knife fight?
Probably.
Okay. Well, you guys can do that as well. WeOwnPicks.com/MKF.
I'll bet you, Hank. Let me know, Hank. I'll bet you.
All right. Hank Hill from the live chat and Jacob are betting Carla versus Rose. You want $50? WeWantPicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of our 5 betting partners. Make a deposit. We send you $50 as a thank you. Next up at UFC 274, we have the main event of the evening. We have Charles Oliveira taking on Justin Gaethje. Charles Oliveira, 32-8 overall, 5-0 in his last 5, and he's riding an 11-fight win streak. Justin Gaethje, 23-3 overall, 4-1 in his last 5, coming off a war with Michael Chandler. And Charles Oliveira may be the most well-rounded, talented guy in the UFC. He has incredible kickboxing skills, laser pinpoint accuracy. His kicks are deadly, and he throws to your legs, your body, your head. He has power, but it's mostly from speed and timing, and it's not really true power from his hips. He averages about 2 takedowns per 15 minutes, but he's only successful 41% of the time. But what separates him from the rest of the division is his ability to snap up a submission in any scramble. He has the most submission wins in UFC history, and his ability to snatch something up in a transition means that his opponents have to be 100% aware of their surroundings every second of the fight. Justin Gaethje is a wrestler who doesn't use his wrestling. He's got solid college wrestling background, but he has 0 takedowns in the UFC. He has power, but he's more of a volume guy who relies on his chin. He marches forward, throws heavy, and will just stay in your face. He loves ugly fights and thrives in the chaos. He struggles against guys who can keep it technical. Poirier, for example, had nice, clean technical striking, and he was able to just sort of stay a step ahead, working the takedowns and get that done. And Justin almost needs a war to win a fight. And over the last few years, the lightweight division has become a ton of fun. This is one of the best divisions to watch. I think Khabib retired too early, but when we get matchups like this, I'm honestly glad that he did, right? I'm glad Khabib is out of the way and we can get some of these really fun fights that we would not get otherwise. I think this entire fight comes down to Justin Gaethje's chin. If his chin continues to do what it does, I think Justin can have a lot of success. I think he's just marching forward, throwing a ton of volume, making it ugly, absorbing whatever comes his way. I think Justin is actually a really bad style for Charles Oliveira because Charles has pinpoint accuracy and he does get TKOs. He also has nasty submissions, but Justin, I don't see Justin going on the ground, right? He's not going to shoot the takedowns. I don't see Charles Oliveira being able to take down Justin. You guys went nuts. You went nuts in the comment section of the Quick Picks video saying he doesn't need to shoot a takedown. He can just climb on your back. But because that's what he did to Dustin Poirier. The difference is Dustin Poirier was sort of willing to engage grappling. Like, he trusts his grappling. He wants to do that. He doesn't want an ugly fight. Justin Gaethje wants an ugly, gritty, gross fight. And Charles Oliveira is not going to want to be in the pocket with Justin Gaethje. Charles Oliveira is definitely more technical. Definitely better on the ground. He's the better fighter. But I think this is a bad stylistic matchup. I think Justin Gaethje marches forward, makes it ugly. Charles Oliveira is going to fade as the fight goes on, and Justin will not. He gets more power as the fight goes on. And I think he's just the Terminator, absorbs everything that comes his way, marches forward, throwing stuff, making it ugly. I think Justin Gaethje wins this fight, even though Charles Oliveira is the far better fighter pretty much everywhere. What do you think?
Yeah, this worries me a little bit after our debacle with Rob Font, because we were both so high on Rob Font, and I'm with you on Justin Gaethje, man. You know, when you become a champion, becoming a champion is almost easier than defending the belt. They always talk about like defending the belt is like the hardest thing you can do, because that's when people expect you to be the champion. There's a lot more press, there's a lot more this, and people will always give you their best when you're the champion. When you're holding that belt, everybody wants it, and it's so hard to hold on that belt. And eventually, you know, Charles Oliveira is not going to be the champion for the next 5 to 10 years. That's just the fact. I don't think he's one of those guys that could just be one of those dominant guys that just defends it over and over and over and over again. He's defended it once, and he looked great doing it, except for when he got knocked down. So I just think eventually he's going to lose, and I agree with you, Angela. I think that Justin Gaethje, his style, his weird style, the way he can sit in the pocket and take shots, but he also has the wrestling, so you can't really expect to be able to take him down. He doesn't use the offensive wrestling, and obviously I don't think he should use offensive wrestling in this matchup. I don't think he's even considering it, which is good on his part. But unless you're Khabib, you're not going to just take this guy down and submit him. People think that Charles Oliveira is just going to shoot a single leg or drag him to the ground, or maybe he gets him hurt and takes his back or whatever. Justin Gaethje is good enough in the wrestling, in the grappling. I actually talked about it with Michael Chandler too, right? With Michael Chandler, he's so well-tuned in his wrestling and in his grappling that his instincts, that even if he's hurt, even if he's tired, his instincts know what to do. He knows how to explode when he needs to explode. He knows this. He knows when to stay calm when he needs to stay calm in certain submissions, in certain positions. And that's the same thing with Justin Gaethje. He just knows what to do in those positions, not to stay in them, but to just get out of them, get back to his feet, and do what he does, which is I don't want to say dominate the striking, but be very patient in the striking. Throw those leg kicks. I know Oliveira kind of knocked down Chandler with the leg kick. I think Justin Gaethje has a real chance to really eat up that front leg of Charles Oliveira. A lot of his striking is really with that bouncy in and out, that boom, boom, and then he's back out. You start chewing with that front leg. Now he's not as quick. Now he can't get out of those strikes, those big shots that Justin Gaethje is going to come with. You know, this is going to sound stupid, and if you want to hate me, that's fine. I don't see how Charles Oliveira wins this fight. I don't think he's going to knock out Justin Gaethje.
I mean, I think if this becomes a striking kickboxing match, I think that Justin Gaethje wins those exchanges, unless it's like a super clean. But Charles Oliveira talked about he wants to get in the pocket and exchange with Justin Gaethje. Why the fuck do you want to do that? Nobody wants to do that except for Michael Chandler. We saw what happened to Michael Chandler. You know, maybe there's a weird thing where he's able to get his back and climb his back and is able to do what Charles Oliveira does over and over again, is just submit people. But I don't think he's going to knock Justin Gaethje out. I think he's in danger of getting knocked out if he strikes with Gaethje. And I mean, and this is going to sound like, we're both on the same side. I know he's the underdog, but I'm playing the Justin Gaethje side, and we'll have to tune in to lock. He's another candidate for lock of the week. There's not a ton of underdogs I like on this card, but he's another candidate for lock of the week. Tune in Wednesday to see who it is, but I'm going Justin Gaethje, man. I'm going Justin. So we're both on the Gaethje side. I don't like it, but I'm going Gaethje. Yeah, I think styles make fights. Charles Oliveira is a better fighter than Justin Gaethje. He's a better fighter. He's the better pure striker. He's the better pure grappler. Not as good of a wrestler. His chin isn't as good as Justin's, but styles make fights, and I just think Justin Gaethje stomping forward, absorbing whatever comes his way. I opened this by saying this entire fight comes down to Justin's chin. If Justin gets KO'd, well, then his chin didn't hold up. So, yeah, I was right. It came down to his chin. If Justin's chin holds up, I don't see him getting submitted. I don't see him losing a decision. I think he terminators. He just takes it. Hey, look at the Cheeto Vera fight from last week. He terminated. He got battered. 280 strikes landed on that guy. Battered. But he didn't get cut up. He didn't get bloodied. And he just landed the big stuff when he needed to. And he would win a round. He would lose 4 minutes of a round, win the last minute, did some real damage, won that round, rinse, repeat. So Charles Oliveira is the better striker. Does that mean that Justin Gaethje can't beat him in striking? Of course not. Styles make fights. I think Justin Gaethje can terminator his way into this. But again, if he gets submitted, yeah, no shit. That could happen. But you guys are acting like
and the people that come for our throats is like, if Charles Oliveira, he's supposed to win. He's the favorite in the fight. If he wins by submission, that's what he's the most submission wins or whatever it is. So don't be like, oh, I told you so. Like, that's what's supposed to happen. He's favored to win the fight. I just think that Gaethje, I don't think he's going to be able to take Justin down. I don't think he's going to knock Justin out.
I don't think so either. And everybody's like, oh, this guy, Eric Cote, he double-legged Chandler. And Chandler almost put his lights out. Almost put his lights out in the first round. So, but that's not a consideration here, that his lights were almost put out. And everybody's acting like Charles Oliveira, like it's a 100% guarantee. If you're on the ground with Charles Oliveira, you get submitted. Because I could pull up the UFC stats
Chandler
right now.
Survived.
There's plenty of he didn't get submitted. Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of people that Charles Oliveira went to the ground with and didn't submit. Plenty of people. So I love Charles Oliveira. I think he's amazing, but he didn't submit Paul Felder.
Yeah, what I'm saying is obviously the path for submission is there. It's just I don't think he's going to be on an opportunity to submit Gaethje. So yeah, the path to victory is there, and obviously anything could happen. It's a fist fight, and he's the champion of the world. But in my mind, I don't see the takedown. I don't see him knocking out, so I don't see the path to victory. I don't think he can win the decision either.
Ricardo Lamas submitted Charles Oliveira. Anthony Pettis submitted Charles Oliveira. Max Holloway KO'd Charles Oliveira. Frankie Edgar got a bunch of takedowns, didn't get submitted. Cub Swanson was taken down, knocked him out. Donald Cerrone knocked him out. Nick Lentz, bunch of takedowns, not submitted. And my point is, Charles Oliveira is the better fighter. He's absolutely the better fighter, but styles make fights, and everybody's acting like it is 1,000% guarantee. Like, if you fall in water, you're going to get wet. If you're on the ground, Charles Oliveira will submit you. If Justin Gaethje gets submitted, it's not surprising. This isn't a hill I'm going to do. It's not surprising if he gets submitted at all. Like Jacob said, that's what's supposed to happen. So either way, we're both on the Justin Gaethje side. I'm a little more cautious about it than Jacob is. I just think Justin Gaethje's chin will be there, and he's just going to keep coming forward, throwing bombs, absorbing bombs, and I don't think there's going to be much in the way of grappling. I do see many paths for Charles Oliveira to win because Justin Gaethje's style cannot last forever. His chin will give out, and maybe it gives out on Saturday.
And I mentioned before, this is no one less fight. I mean, he's a Trevor Whitman guy. Nobody's going to outwork Justin Gaethje. Trevor Whitman will have Justin Gaethje ready for whatever Charles Oliveira is going to offer him. It still might work, but he's going to be prepared for most of those positions that Oliveira's going to, either in the striking, the combos that Oliveira's going to throw. Trevor Whitman's going to have him prepared. I'm a big Trevor Whitman guy. Even again, like I said, even against Khabib, he was prepared. He was landing shot. He was ready when Khabib was. He was counter striking Khabib and landing shots. Khabib could just eat. Because his chin is like the most underrated chin in the UFC history, I think, honestly. So anyway.
Well, we'll see what happens. It should be a really fun fight. I'm looking forward to it. Charles Oliveira is the better fighter, but styles make fights, and I think Justin can take this fight. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out. Continue the arguing, the bashing. Do that on our Discord. The Discord is 100% free. There is a link in the description. Thanks so much for hanging out, and we will see you on Friday.
Lock of the Week video Wednesday. Find out who it is.
Check out Jake's Lock of the Week video, and we'll see you on Friday for all the final things.